And now, a three-time sports editor, former online and managing editor, and host of Talk That Talk, award-winning journalist Terrell Chatterbox Emerson.
It's muted. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. Let's do another round of applause. Welcome to it, guys. It is a little after 12 o'clock on a Thursday night. I lied. It's a little after 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. We're going until 12 o'clock. What's going on, guys? It's your Thursday episode of the Talk That Talk radio show. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. I am in studio with a good guy. I'm in studio with my guy, Kevin Kelly from the Sporting Tribune. Kevin, what's going on with you, brother?
Yes, sir, man.
And it's my fault because I didn't tell you where your camera was before we started. That's your camera. We were trying to figure out seats, but yeah, man, you're all good.
For sure.
But Kevin Kelly is in the building with us. What's going on with you, champ?
Not much, man. Chilling. It's I say not much. It's been a lot, though. It's been a hectic week in sports, to say at the very least. But I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, brother. As a matter of fact, shout out to Patience. Round of applause for Patience. Patience was literally doing my hair right before I got here, so I appreciate her for that. Today's been a good day. Today's been a really good day. It's just, it's funny. Certain things that you go through in life they should determine how you handle things going forward, right? And for those of you guys who don't know, I was in a car accident last year. Am I lying? No, that was last year, wasn't it? Damn, I feel like it moved so fast. Wow, I was gonna say 2 years ago now. What? Oh, wait. Okay, we're in 2025. That's why.
Oh yeah.
So technically 2023. So yeah. So got into my accident in 2023. Broke my hand, totaled the car, all types of stuff. Right. Had surgery. Wasn't that fault. And I come in here and I don't want to say joke, but I come in here and I take shots at these Vegas drivers all the time, right? Kevin's sitting here shaking his head because he knows what I'm talking about. Again, my dad taught me at a young age, you got to drive for yourself and everybody else around you, right? And then you get into situations and you do that. And then you do that. And then you keep doing it. And it's like, okay, how much am I supposed to be the one responsible for this?
Word.
So today I'm headed to Patient's house actually to get my hair done. And as I'm headed to her house, I know I got a retwist to do. So I got the show to do. I'm excited. I'm in a good mood. And again, for those of you guys who don't know, after that, I went ahead and got a truck. So I got a RAV4 outside. I'm like, this is where I feel more comfortable at anyway. I'm a bigger guy. I didn't need to be in those little cars anyway. I got an Acura back home. So I told my dad after tonight, I was like, you probably can keep that. I might not go back and get that. But so I'm driving into about to get on the freeway head to her house. And I'm in the middle lane. I'm driving on the street, and in the left-hand lane, I see a car 2 cars ahead getting ready to make a left-hand turn. I said, I know how this goes here in Vegas. Either the person behind them or the third car is going to dart out. I said, I'm almost positive I know how this goes. So usually I'm even on the phone with my dad sometimes. I'm driving through and he'll hear me hit the horn real quick. And he'll be like, what happened? And I'll be like, nothing. It's a preventative measure. Like here in Vegas, it works. Like you have to be early to your horn here in Vegas, and you got to be here to know it.
And you got to be liberal with the use. You got to make them hear you.
Absolutely. Otherwise, they'll keep floating. Like merging is the hardest thing for Vegas drivers to do.
Because half the time, it's really they just don't know you're there. Like I joke about them being bad. Like I'm not even saying that to be mean. They genuinely are just bad. They don't know you're there half the time.
So you're not gonna like what I have to say, I don't think. I feel like driving is an IQ thing. And if I'm gonna be completely honest, you're one of the people that I joke with about it as well. And we all have that one friend, right? That we be like, we just pat on the shoulder. I feel like everybody that I'm around is intelligent. And what I mean by that is I'm not questioning their IQ. So in certain moments where we're joking, we'd be like, "Well, there's a lot of dumb people out here."
For sure.
I think those are all the bad drivers. I'm very serious.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. Especially, it's like, there's different ways. Especially, some people are so like smart navigationally and just good at like it. To relate it to sports, like some people just have really good spatial awareness. I think that's a lot part of intelligence and like it goes to that measure though, for sure. I hear what you're saying.
I've being here in Vegas, I've told myself you got to come to a conclusion. You got to figure it out. It's almost the way I feel about the Mountain West referees. Like, I'm just staring at the driving here in Vegas, and I'm like, something's got to be done about this. I don't know what's going to happen. But long story a little less long, I know you guys may be kind of wondering what the buildup is. I'm driving the third car, ironically enough. The second car behind the car that was turning darts out to the right. And this is the blessing of two things. A, the blessing of having a truck now. First of all, big ups to my Lord and Savior, right? First of all, keeping everybody safe. But so I'm driving past the car. And I was actually joking with Kevin when I came in, and I told him if I didn't have a podcast on, I might not have known that I got hit. The car kept moving. She didn't budge. I didn't feel a thing, but I heard something. And I seen him getting ready to dart over. So I'm like, I'm if you pay attention to how the car is too, Kevin actually seen the damage coming into the studio today. The damage is right at like the middle point of the driver's side. It's right essentially between my driver door and the passenger. I mean, in the back seat on the driver's side. That means I'm past you. that means you literally did not look. So again, it's one of those situations to where, again, I had to take a lot of things into consideration. I'm thankful for the car, and I'm thankful for making it out of my situation last year, because it makes you appreciate things differently. We pulled over. I got the car. I went straight to my tail light. I was like, if that's the front of his car, let me check the back of mine. Tail light still shiny and pretty. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Side mirror. Let me check the side mirror. Side mirror sturdy as ever. Bro, I took it back. I had to back up. I said, where the hell is the damage? Oh, okay. You scraped my paint to hell. I was like, all right, bet. So there's a mean dent in the driver door. I won't lie and say that, but there's a mean dent in the driver's side door. But mainly, like I told my dad, when I had the conversation with him, everybody knows my dad is usually the one to calm me down. He said, I think the exact words that he used was, the damage is cosmetic. I said, you know what? You're right. That's one way to look at it. Yeah,
it looked really clean. It was like kept to just like you said, that one area of the door. So no harm, no foul, I guess.
No, and I'm gonna tell you another reason why it was no harm, no foul. Quick thing too, just to kind of wrap this back up before we go ahead and get to socials and stuff. I didn't honk. I didn't do my preventative measure.
So I'll do it. Yeah.
There goes that. That's what I learned in this situation. I was like, stick to your preventative.
And that's
measure.
What I'm saying. Like, if it was in the back, like, or at least past you, they just didn't know you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
that's why when you said what you said to start the show, I was like, was he in the car with me? Like, it was exactly that. And then when I get out the car, I'm trying to gauge how angry to be, because I'm thinking about last year, but I'm like, I don't feel like it's that bad. So that's why I got out, and the first thing I did was see the damage. Like, I'm not gonna lie, based on the damage, depending on how I was gonna react.
Yeah,
I seen it, what the damage was. Now I'm on the person. Now I'm paying attention to the person. Bro, it's like a 20-year-old black kid. So my biggest fear was that he didn't have a license, because he told me he was 20 after the fact. When I seen him, I was like, you look young, buddy. Reason why I had to curb any of my attitude, you can watch the young man is shaking. You can see it. And I was like, dog, like, we not gonna call the cops. We not gonna do none of that. But we got to get to the bottom of it. Like, so, like you said, it was essentially exactly what you said. No harm, no foul. I hated having to be in that. Everybody's talking about all the different roles and stuff now. Who's Unc? Who's Big Bro? Right? I hated to kind of be in that Big Bro role, but I kind of was, like I told him, I wouldn't want to hear it either. But you got to drive for yourself and everybody on the road.
Yeah.
And that was a blind spot accident. Like, it's simple stuff like that. I didn't want to have to be that guy, but I was like, it's a lot better than me calling the cops right now, Doug. I got somewhere to be. I'm sure you do. Let's just get out of here.
And at least, you know, like you said, he had insurance and it wasn't somebody trying to crash out and, like, you know, lash out at you for no reason or whatever. So
1000%.
that's
brother.
low key a blessing too, because, you know, people be crazy on the roads, and I'm not trying to get into it with nobody on the road.
Not at all. I tell people all the time, you can have it. Like, I don't think I care that much, bro. You can have it. But yeah, man, shout out to just making it through, man. Shout out to keeping your mind focused. Somebody asked me, was I still doing the show after that?
Of course.
I said, hell yeah. I said, are you crazy? Like, what? That's fodder for the show. Well, I'm absolutely doing the show.
Content, man.
Word. But again, guys, welcome to our Thursday episode of the Talk That Talk radio show. I'm Terrell. He's Kevin. This is episode 9 of season 7. So this is episode 335 of the Talk That Talk radio show. Kevin, you already talked about it, brother. We got a lot to discuss. We have more, again, I think second episode straight. Leading into the Super Bowl, we have a radio show with more than an hour of basketball talk. That's just the way that this show shapes up. I was gonna say I don't make the rules, but I kind of do. But I don't feel like I made the rules in this sense because the news headlines dominated, right?
You're just doing what the market calls for, you know? I was talking to my dad about it. It's, you know, I hadn't thought about it, but, you know, everyone was talking about how how Christmas was taken from the NBA by the NFL.
Yep.
Rightly so. I mean, you know, but then, you know, it's Super Bowl week and all you're hearing about is the NBA. And, you know, as like a basketball junkie myself, I love it, but it's definitely interesting to see. I didn't expect the deadline to be like this, especially when you think back to what last year's deadline was.
Absolutely. And I'm happy that you said that too, because we're going to compare it to a couple of deadlines, right? Just in terms of moments. But I feel like you will and myself are probably the same and probably unique in the form that, or in the way that we probably prefer basketball over football, right? And that's kind of what we are kind of knee deep and embedded in. And the league has given us so much to talk about, right? We're actually about to discuss the Aces in a second too. So while we do that, or while we gear up to do that, I want to let you guys know, if you are watching on YouTube, we appreciate you. If you would like to watch on YouTube, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to your search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to your search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. It's pretty much the same across every platform. That would be Apple Podcasts. That'd be Spotify, Instagram, Facebook. The one thing that is different, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. And this beautiful show is being shot from the beautiful studio here at the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Kevin, you know what?
Yeah, how do we start, man?
This is the great part. So I'm gonna let you pick probably, because I think I know where I want to start. But I'm gonna let you pick probably. Everybody's dynamic on the show is different, and that's the beauty of why I built this show the way I have. Right? We're supposed to cycle in different members of the company just to kind of let people know what we think, right? And like I said before, I think majority of the people that I'm around, let's say 70%, are well versed in 70% of the sports, for instance, right? So we usually have no problem filling 2 hours full of sports. I think we're still in the handful of shows for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm trying to figure out what role you fit. And I know what energy Markel brings, like, and how I have to match it.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my guy Duna, who I talked to this week. My guy Duna Hagler. My mom used to always hit me, and she was like, "I love the way you guys argue." I think I might have figured out what your role is.
What is it?
So I have always taken pride in this, and it's gonna be crazy because I feel like I'm losing my title right now. But whatever. I've always prided myself on being this guy, right? And my dad would ask me, why does it take you 15, 20 minutes to write a story?
Mm-hmm.
Because it took me an hour to prep for it. Like, the game happened. That's the easy part. That's the filler. I think you're the researcher. Every time I talk to you, you tell me something, and I'm like, damn, I thought I prepped for everything, and I still didn't know that.
I was going to say, Will works the same way where he can just like punch out articles. I'm not that quick like that, but yeah, just spend a lot more time, I guess, on like the not even the prep, but just like you said, the research, the information of it all, the just being immersed in the world and all that. So
Because we've sat next to each other at a couple of UNLV games, and you'll bring up something, and I'll be like, and you'll ask, like, you'll say it, and then you'll be like, right, and then I'll look and be like, yeah. Not only are you right, why do you know that? Like, why do you know that in particular? But speaking of, we're obviously starting with the trade deadline. By the way, the Super Bowl is the last topic that we have tonight. I just wanted to let you guys know, if you're here for the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, guys. Maybe we can squeeze something in on the weekend, maybe do something special. But as of right now, tonight's show will be dominated by today's NBA trade deadline.
we'll have to get a couple minutes in the end, just
Yeah, I mean, I guess you guys are playing an important football game this week. That's what I keep hearing. But yeah, man, I guess the biggest news that you weren't here for on Monday is the Luka Doncic trade. I'll let you go ahead and give your thoughts on Luka first. Well, Luka to AD. Let me not disrespect the champion in the trade. My fault.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to say and thoughts here. Just a gift that fell in Rob's lap. It's unthinkable last week that this would happen. I was saying, we were talking about it, me and Will, like beyond the biggest trade or the biggest shock in basketball history, I think it's up there for sports history. And it goes beyond that as just one of the most inexplicable decisions in entertainment history.
So we're what are we? We are 5 days removed from the actual trade. You still can't make sense of it?
No, it doesn't even feel real still. And it's like, it's wild. I was sitting next to you at the game.
Yep.
And it's like, so a lot of people don't even understand, like the average person that's not that in tune with the NBA and basketball like that doesn't understand like the gravity of having Luka on your franchise. And it's to forego that for a 32-year-old AD is a wild decision to me.
And again, I'm not too mad at Dallas's angle if it's not Luka. Like, I know it's gonna sound nuts, but I'm not too mad at the angle if it's Luka from the standpoint of we're gonna get to Golden State in a moment, right? A lot of people may, because I heard somebody say it today, because I've been saying it, right? Jimmy, you're 35, you're 35, you're 35. Now you're joining a superstar that's 34. Like, I don't know. Now you guys are on the right trajectory. Like, at least you guys, at the very least, whenever this is said and done, I'm probably done with both of you. Now, in terms of Dallas, I don't mind the AD move. I don't mind even being aggressive for AD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pairing AD with Luka Doncic.
Yeah, it's that's where the discussion starts and stops. It's never involving Luka. But yeah, I mean, and a lot of the people are trying to weigh like, did the Lakers get better, closer to a championship this year, versus did the Mavericks get closer? And like, to me, that just completely, what is it called? Misses the forest for the trees, or whatever the saying is. Like, you're just
can't hit the forest for missing the trees.
Yeah, you're just like completely missing the whole point here. It's like, sure, I completely agree that probably the Mavs will, because of the trade, win more games as in the second half of this year than the Lakers will because of that addition. But Luka's 25. You have another 10 years of this guy in your franchise. It's not like that. And then you look at Nico's comments about basically saying like, oh, I'm probably not going to be here in 3-4 years anyway, so let's just buy in on this now. It's like,
he said in 10 years I won't be here.
That's
Hey, did you see J Kidd face when he said that?
Man, he had like the 1,000-mile stare just into the ground.
He was like, I don't think I'll be here. He was like, I don't think you'll be here. J Kidd was like, damn it, I might want to be. You might have just changed that for me.
And it's like, that's just like malpractice to me. And to the point where it just feels like a big middle finger to the fans. Like they, this guy, he was the man in Dallas. Like that whole city loved him, and everyone that was a Mavs fan was so bought. Everyone that was a Mavs fan has his jersey. Like,
I remember that first year when he was there, and like the talk was obviously Dirk, right? But a lot of the talk was him buying into being a Texan. And that's one of the things that obviously comes up around trade deadline time. I will never forget the first time that as I was growing up, right, and being a fan of the sport, I remember when the Angels traded Joe Saunders, left-handed pitcher, right? Let's go ahead and give it up for Joe. I remember Joe got traded to either Texas or Arizona. I think those was his last 2 stops. Pardon. And I remember they had went to the locker room to do interviews. And first of all, I know we talk a lot about hockey players. I'm not going to disrespect hockey players by no means, but I will say baseball might have the cringiest interview moments. And like, I don't even mean just like quirky interview moments. I mean that baseball players, they'll take their moment and then they talk to you. Maybe interview, maybe combat sports too. But you'll interview them in a raw moment and you could tell like the emotions aren't gone yet. Like we've been at basketball press conferences where maybe a team would take 20 minutes to come out. We done been at Raider games where they take 30 minutes before guys start to come out, right?
Yeah. Baseball
isn't necessarily that, but I remember they had interviewed Joe Saunders and he's by his locker and like the news just broke that he was traded. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know what the job is, but I also have never been in a position where somebody has kind of told me, hey, you can't live in this state anymore. Like they're not kicking you out the state per se, but we know figuratively what I'm talking about. Anyway, long story a little less long, when Joe started to speak, he was saying like, yeah, that was tough. I spent how many every years here, whatever. When his voice started to crack, he said, my kids just started school. I was like 12, dog. I was like, huh, that is a portion of it.
Yeah, the human aspect of it, man. Like, he just bought like a $15 million house in Dallas and like was planted there with, I'm pretty sure his wife, and obviously wanted to be there in the long term.
Right.
And that's a lot of the other speculation is people for no reason have been saying like, yeah, he wasn't going to take the largest contract in NBA history. Like,
why?
Sure, yeah, he was just going to not like, okay. And then, yeah, all the speculation, and then even like the scapegoating about his weight and conditioning is so beyond ridiculous to me. The guy is 25-year-old, a 4-time or 5-time first team All NBA, and took you to the finals last year
as a 5 seed.
And like, granted, yeah, what happened against the Celtics happened, and he got targeted, sure, but like. The answer to that is to trade him instead of to try and build defense around him so you can that decision is just beyond me and beyond everyone in the basketball. It's
so it appears that you don't have an answer for it neither at this point. But that deal kind of is what it is, right? And then you add to that, I'm not gonna say counter, but you add to that going out and getting Mark Williams, right? Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, I'll do this real quick too. This is our Thursday show, so we're gonna have a little fun with it. The past 2 NBA 2Ks for my career, I'll do random teams in terms of my career. Like if they let you pick, I would prefer it. And I know 2K, hopefully, if you guys are listening, I know you guys flip back and forth sometimes. Go back to where we couldn't pick the team.
I completely agree. I hate that you get to pick it.
Please let me go. Let me actually feel like I have no choice in this, right?
Yeah.
So the past 2 years, I was in Brooklyn 2 years ago. So that's KD and Kyrie before or after the James trade. And then I was with the Lakers last year. I'm like, bro, I ain't really stressed out over my career in 2 or 3 years. So I'm like, let me see if I can really make this a thing. I go to Portland. You guys know I'm a huge Scoot fan, right? So I go to Portland. I'm like, we gonna figure this out.
What position are you?
I'm a 2 guard.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out. I'm not trying to step on Anthony Simons' toes. So I'm trying to
sharp, you know.
I'm trying to back up. I'm trying to just be like, whatever y'all need to do, let me know. It actually worked out that Scoot and I are starting, but Shaden and Simons are off the bench. I thought Scoot would be off the bench, honestly, but whatever. Progressed how it progressed. I say all of that to say, you're trying to find the right piece, right? Because I'm like, we need something. Like, we're not gonna win it all this year, but I want to shock somebody. Let me go get Chris Middleton. They said no quickly. I said, let me go get Nick Richards out of Charlotte.
They said no?
They said no quickly. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and sit back. And the only reason why I brought that up is because Mark Williams was one of the centers that I looked at, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what that potential was going to be. So, I'm not going to pull the trigger. But the Lakers obviously did it. The Lakers did it. In addition to sending Cam Reddish, absolute bucket getter. I know if you guys may watch the NBA, you may be like, well, I don't see buckets being got. Go do your Cam Reddish highlights. Go do your homework, please. But Cam Reddish, Dalton Connect, I believe a draft pick went over there as well. A high price to pay for Mark Williams, but if it pays off, the Lakers have a center for probably the next 7 to 10 years.
That was the other thing is like, obviously we don't know fully what his potential was, but we didn't really know what the price tag was for that level of a big in this market right now, because almost everyone was gone, all the big targets, and you knew that the Lakers were still trying to get someone. And it came out that Luka had impressed upon the Lakers brass that he wanted to have a lob target, which we kind of all figured was going to happen. That's how you optimize his game. But so we knew that was going to be the case. And then, yeah, I mean, it took a lot. Dalton and 2 firsts, especially.
It was 2 firsts. Oh, my gosh.
Well, yeah, it was, a swap. The 2030 swap.
Oh, you're right.
And then 2031 is an unprotected first, which, I mean, they'll still have Luka, which decreases the value a little bit at that point. But who knows? I mean, it's the NBA. And 2031, who's to say whether he'll still be there or the Lakers won't be a lottery team. So that's still an asset to give up. But, yeah, I mean, I think he unlocks a lot with this team. They're going to have some holes to fix on defense. He doesn't have the quickest feet, and his navigation and screens is not the best.
Right.
But, LeBron fills some of those gaps, and then offensively, it'll just be really, really, really fun because he's been hooping on that end lately. So,
and that's the thing, right? Like, with all due respect to Luka and the Mavs that made the finals last year, that was a Luka-led team, Luka and Kyrie-led team that nobody was really looking to slow anybody down anyway. They were going into series kind of expecting them, hey, if they average between 108 and 112, you might be in a tough spot. But we do have other suitors, right? Just other people that were trying to get their rosters together. I said it a couple of weeks ago in terms of Pat Riley. I get standing on your square, and I get, you know what I mean, the constant back and forth, the bickering, the standing your ground, the standing on your square. However, if you say, and I've always said this, if you say you care about the team, that you care about the product, you got to put the ego to the side at a certain point. And you know what? Since it's Thursday, I'll keep giving random little notes that keep popping up in my head. I remember the first time somebody told me that they love the podcast. And it wasn't the first time that somebody told me they love the podcast, but it was the first time that somebody told me I love the podcast. So-and-so is my favorite. And it wasn't me. And that was an ego check for me because it was early in the pod days. And the person said that Caprice was their favorite. Shout out to Caprice, gang. I called Caprice after the person told me, and I was like, hey. And shout out to Adira. Adira's the one that said it. I told her, I was like, hey, Adira said you're her favorite one on the pod. And she was like, oh, thank you. Like, that's dope, whatever. I said, no, that means now you can't miss one. That's the way that it goes. Like, either I'm going to let my ego get in the way or I'm going to listen.
Mm-hmm. Who's best for the team.
That's all I'm here for, man. And I felt like Pat Riley had to do something with Jimmy Butler. I don't care where you go. I don't want to send him to the East. I don't want to send him to a contender. I don't want to, at a certain point, fam, I want you away from me.
Somewhere. Just, man, as a Heat fan, I am just so glad this saga is behind us.
Did I hit the round of applause again?
A big one.
Okay, let's cut it up. Let's make sure we do it.
I mean, this saga has been just the most frustrating thing as a Heat fan because the worst part about it all is, like, you understand the frustrations on both sides.
Right.
I understand that, obviously they had the chance to do a little more to build around Jimmy, and he brought us to 2 finals, and that's very true. Like, the front office slept during some deadlines and didn't make all the moves that they could have. At the same time, there's a really competent roster that you were able to take to the finals twice, and you're just like bailing out because you're not going to get the exact extension you want when you still have a player option that you could accept and work through a contract extension for $52 million. And it's like, if you want way more than that in 3 years at 35 years old, go do it somewhere else. I really I'm beyond grateful for what he did for the franchise. But like,
If we're leveraging futures,
let's be honest, he was on a path to get his jersey retired in Miami. That's
was.
not going to happen now. It's not.
Oh, and I'm happy that you said that. You think that that's like a guarantee foregone conclusion that it doesn't happen even when Pat's not sitting in that seat?
I'd say like 80, 90%. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There's a,
Is it because not only did you leave on bad terms, because you could leave on bad terms, right? But you left on bad terms and you're beefing with the Godfather. Like, I think that might, because I don't think it'd be too much of, let's say 15 years from now, right? I actually need LaRock a question about 10 years from now. She just looked at me. But let's say 10, 15 years from now, right? You and I, we go to Miami. We're catching a Heat game. We look up. I think that we could look up and see a banner for Pat. Well, we're going to see one. I think we could see a number 22 up there next to it. I think it might be us that were in the moment that understood, hey, there's a crazy storyline between those two banners.
Yeah. I mean, time heals all, like is said, but I just don't see it. I mean, it's beyond just like going out in bad blood. Like, he was like leaving team planes. He left practice when they said he didn't have the role. And like the whole buildup was just, I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh on the guy because, like I said, he did so much for the franchise. But like, this is the third team he's done this with. It seems like it's not really the Heat that's the outlier here. So
that's the biggest argument. Again, you guys know what my mom's quote is. Everybody can't be wrong. At a certain point, we know what groupthink is, but like my mom said, there's a certain piece of truth somewhere in there when everybody gets to saying it.
Very true. Very true.
But
do you have thoughts about his fit there?
Jimmy? Jimmy is a do-it-all player. So without trying to be disrespectful, I mentioned Andrew Wiggins just had a baby boy, right? Steve Kerr mentioned it. He's headed to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I think that culture is going to be really interesting for him because I think Andrew might get back to another level that we seen him at a couple of years ago. As far as Jimmy, I just hope that Miami fans. I hope that Golden State fans are okay with 18, 6, 4 on any given night, similar to what Andrew Wiggins was giving you.
That's where I was getting is like, well, obviously,
I'll say one thing really quick. The one thing that does change is you have another threat late in games to take final shots.
Very true.
Even though Klay didn't take them. I do think the first time they draw up a game-winning shot for Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson is going to hit the roof, bro, by the way.
But no, it's very true. You mentioned Wiggins. Obviously, they play a similar role on teams.
Right.
And Jimmy's no question a better player than Andrew Wiggins. Like obviously Will's a Warriors fan. He is not happy with the move just because he doesn't want to buy in on $120 million for the next 3 years or 2.5 years of Jimmy, which, I understand. But if you're simply looking at the fit and trying to compete this year, they did get a lot better. And like you said about the playoffs, like Jimmy is one of the 10 guys in the league that you want to win 16 games in April, May, and June.
For sure.
There's not more than 10, maybe 5 guys that you want to lead your team. I mean, we saw it 2 years ago when he willed them through the Bucks to get to the finals with the Nuggets. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I can't discount that you're adding that to a team with Steph Curry and stuff, but I don't know. The West is so stacked; they're going to struggle to even get in the play-in and not even out of it. But
so I don't know if they get out of it. I do think they're in the play-in at some sort. I think they actually. I don't know where they're at now. I think they were 11th a second ago. Because the West is kind of what it is, I can see them getting as high as touching 6. I still think that they end up in the play-in. I don't know if they ultimately go on to play in the playoffs or not, but just from the outside looking in, I get Will's point about not wanting to buy in on a contract that big for somebody that's 35 years old. However, let me start by saying Will's ultimately right. Let me start by that. Let me just be a typical sports fan and argue for the sake of arguing. But at least you get a guaranteed running mate. with Steph for the next 2 years. And I think that's what he would argue. Is it guaranteed? Like, we don't know what is going to happen the next day with Jimmy.
But no, I agree. I mean, and it's lined up perfectly with the timeline.
That's what I'm thinking.
The contract is over. Steph's contract is over when Jimmy's extension will be over. So at that point, you give it your all for these 2 years, try and get one more ring for Steph and let him go out that way. I think is the way to go. And yeah, if that's your goal, I think it's a good move. But I'm happy they were able to do it because, like you said, Wiggins I didn't mention, but I like his fit a lot in the Heat. Like he really like fits into his role. He's not going to do too much. And yeah, I think that's a big get for sure. So.
Last question for you before I move on to the next topic. I have another fellow Miami Heat fan, and Mike Hughes. Shout out to Mike Hughes Jr. How do you feel about Tyler Hero?
I've always been a big Tyler fan. Yeah, if the question is,
this is great.
I think the most interesting question is, and I want to hear your opinion. Do you think he can be a 1A on a competitor, like a contender?
This is why the English language is so important.
Not necessarily like a 1.
You said 1A.
Yeah,
which makes it interesting because
right.
I was ready, almost like Family Feud, ready to buzz in. I was like, is he good enough to be a 1? Is he good enough to be a 1?
Yeah, because a 1 isn't going to do it. No,
I don't believe he's good enough to be a 1.
I don't think so.
I think he's good enough to be a 2, depending on who your 1 is.
Well, 1, yeah, I agree.
Or 1A, depending on who your 1 is. So
I agree.
I think in his case, the way that he plays the game, you're gonna need an Anthony Davis right? Which is why I don't not like where Miami is now, right? If you surround him with a bunch of dogs to where he don't have to be the dog, and he can go out there and get buckets and play in space and play off the pick and roll and get to his spots, I think also asking him to be a point guard is a bad idea. But
see, I agree there.
Those are just like my 2 hands.
That's my biggest gripe. But I think when you mentioned that guy, obviously Bam's not quite at AD's level, and he's struggled offensively this year. But I think he can get to that level where those two can be the guys to compete at a championship level for sure.
Especially when you're surrounding him with guys like Andrew Wiggins. You know what this Andrew Wiggins deal reminds me of? It's not the exact same thing, but remember when Andrew Iguodala went to Miami? You would know.
Yeah.
When he went to Miami and everybody was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. He fits that.
For sure.
And then you saw him in the finals and was like, damn, he did go there, didn't he?
Yeah, and it was a perfect, seamless fit. And yeah, I mean, also, you said Wiggins, but also like their rook, Khalil Ware, in the last 10 games, 20
Balled
games.
out in Summer League.
I mean, he's like the favorite now to win Rookie of the Year. He has been hooping lately. He is really fun. If they've started playing him and Bam together, and that's been really interesting because Bam started to shoot it a little more and better, and Khalil stretches the floor too and provides some real interior protection. So Bam's been able to do the roaming spot. That's been fun to watch.
And I know Bam is. Oh, I was gonna say Bam is probably more comfortable in that spot because he's more athletic. Is he more athletic
than
Khalil?
He's more like way more laterally quick. So,
I'd say you do want him to be a roamer.
Yeah, but Khalil,
I've seen Khalil. Because first of all, I seen Bam.
He moves, but he jumps. Like Khalil jumps out the floor. The only issue with him on defense is like he's gotten like way more goaltends than you'd like.
For sure,
he just tries to block every single thing in the world. But
sound like Mitchell Robinson when he's healthy.
Yeah, I'd say like the thing that I liked, I'd say like Bam was closest to like an upgrade of what Robert Williams was with the Celtics defense, where he can just roam and block shots when he can get into the paint, but also just like roam and cause havoc on the perimeter. Because to have that, man. But I go back to what you were saying, like about the point guard. I don't think he is either, and I think if they could add like I'm trying to think of. I know the archetype.
Can I say the name?
Go ahead.
So you said archetype already, so I feel like you might even go there. I don't feel like you guys need like a Russell Westbrook type like star. I don't even mean Russ right now, but I mean when Russ was being a star or the star. Give me the archetype because I'm looking at a guy and I was like, he's worn y'all jersey before. If y'all had him, you would be fine.
Just a point of attack defender.
Wait, hold on. I hope I can write this down.
Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead and talk.
Go ahead, yeah. A point of attack defender who can get out in transition and pass the ball. Those 3 things are all I need. Defend the point of attack, get out and run, and be able to pass the ball.
I'm only worried about one of those attributes, but I have a name here.
Go for it.
And this person
Should
wore one of y'all wore your jersey one particular year, maybe more. But he is a point guard. And like I said, he's not a flashy one. He reminds me of almost like a Jose Calderon from the standpoint of when you're in front of him, you have to play.
On offense or defense?
On defense. If he's in front of you and you have to defend him,
Oh, okay.
he's gonna make you work.
I was going in a different direction. I don't know.
I know. You might were you going Mario Chalmers-ish?
No, I was going more. That's what I was going to say. Is like I was thinking more the defensive side. Like I really, that's what I'm leaning on. Number one, I need someone who can stop the ball.
Because you need somebody to cover for his mistakes.
You don't even have to be that good on offense. I'll take a DeLon Wright. Like I want someone.
DeLon Wright, man. Shout out to home. Shout out to home.
I want someone that can just stop the ball in the point of attack and get out and run. That's it.
If that's the case, you're not gonna like my archetype. But I'm obviously he's already with the Lakers, and now he's gonna be he's gonna be even more valuable with the Lakers with Luka there. But
No, go ahead.
No, say what you about to say.
Gabe?
No, that's funny that you say that because that's
you said used to be in a Heat jersey, and I was thinking.
Oh, and that's a great point. See, another round of applause for you because I didn't even put two and two together. What I was gonna say was in terms of the Lakers, I look at somebody like a Dorian Finney-Smith. And it makes sense that you guys build your roster with athletic wings like that. Yeah. Right?
I just think we're stocked in the wing department. We just need a point guard.
Well, that's you're
why. Getting to it. Go ahead.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm jumping ahead.
No, you're perfectly fine because you know your team, right? So you're sitting here telling me we have wing defenders, which is why I'm expecting Andrew Wiggins to probably stand in front of the other team's point guard. Which is why I need somebody that really fits that silhouette of a Goran Dragic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give me 15 and 6 every night where I know that that's consistent because Tyler's going to give me 30 some nights and there's going to be some nights where he shoots 2 for 12.
And you know, he's going to space the floor a lot more than the archetype I was thinking, which is going to help that offense a lot too.
Do we have any more Goran Dragic's type in the world right now? Sam Merrill in Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's tough.
Think of one. You know who hopefully might get there if he can get his offensive game up there too? Davion Mitchell. I know he got traded today as well, but
that's a guy. He goes. Honestly, thank God you just mentioned him. I didn't even think about that. He doesn't have that. He's not a good offense.
Is he in Miami?
Yes.
Oh, bro, what?
He just got traded there today.
That's fine.
That was like the big. Thank God you mentioned that. He doesn't have the offensive side of what I was mentioning. Right. He can get out and run. He's a decent passer, but not really quite to that level I was mentioning. But they call him off night. I mean, the guy can defend. If there's one thing he got to the NBA doing, the guy can defend. So
won a Summer League championship defending.
I would not be surprised if you see him alongside Tyler Hero. Maybe not right away, but
right, because that's a small backcourt.
But I don't care. He'll I think by the time we get to like April, I could see that as a starting backcourt for sure.
I'm not mad at that. And this is just the fun part of, again, just being sports minds for sure, but especially basketball minds. Forgot that he got traded there today, but he just fits that.
Man, that's such a good fit.
I'm excited. I think this is going to be his best landing spot.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what he ultimately does with it. As always, guys, we told you guys we were going to go over a little bit in terms of the basketball talk today. We do have a lot more basketball to get to. We will get to the Super Bowl today, or tonight, rather. We will get to UNLV basketball, both men and women. And, of course, I can't leave you guys wanting more news on your Vegas Golden Knights. There's some things to update you guys on in terms of the Golden Knights as we creep toward that break. Last NBA trade deadline point, maybe I lied. 2 of them. Kyle Kuzma to Milwaukee. I feel like Milwaukee needed to do something.
Yeah.
And with all due respect, even as a person that was trying to trade for him on 2K, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Chris Middleton in Portland. Milwaukee needed to get up off of Chris Middleton.
Yeah. And I think it's a little bit lateral. I mean, like Chris Middleton's going to be able to win you some games down the stretch, and Kuzma might be able to do that, but definitely to a lesser extent. He's a little more explosive, probably a little better at this point on the offensive side, but I mean, it's pretty lateral to me. The thing that's interesting to me about it is like all the CBA stuff about the CBA. We're trying to stay under the taxes. I guess this gets them under the second curtain where they don't have to worry about They saved like $30 million in the offseason just by doing this trade. So and that was the other thing that stuck out to me about the deadline is how many like nothing burger little trades were done. Even just like trades for nothing, players for cash,
Cash for picks.
they get waived right away, and all that just to get the new CBA stuff and to not occur fines and from being over the limit. So that's interesting to me, and it's been way different from last year. I know you mentioned you wanted to compare.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because what I wanted to compare, and we can get to it at the end of it, but I wanted to compare. Last time you had a trade deadline that was like this, like when you was like, oh damn, like okay, now the landscape looks different. The one that I remember being super involved in this All-Star weekend and seeing that Boogie got traded. I told my dad, and I still stand on it right now. I told my dad, I was like, Anthony Davis, and I was looking at the camera when I said, when healthy, Anthony Davis is a top 5 talent in this league. Period. And I stand by what I said. And what I mean by that is talent. He can shoot the 3. He could play back to the basket. He could bring the ball up if you need to. He has some handle to him. He has the height. He can play defense. He does everything.
Mm-hmm.
When healthy, he's
a little too quiet about the play defense, but yeah, go ahead.
A little bit. You know, that minor thing that he did for LA when he was here.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. LA shipped him out and was like, we don't care. And I was like, AD kind of did something with y'all, but whatever. Anyway,
if you got Luka, you wouldn't care either, though.
No, I told everybody, you gotta. My dad said it best. My brother said something about the trade. My dad said, thank you, AD. We appreciate everything that you did. Bye now. Like Luka's here. We appreciate it.
Brought us a ring. Like,
what do you want me to do? You want me to say no to this 25-year-old?
All right.
I'm never doing that.
Especially because I hate going back to this trade and going back to Nico, but he deserves it. I guess the first ask was for 2 firsts plus Dalton Connect. And Rob was like, nah, we want to keep one of those firsts and we want to keep Dalton Connect. And Nico was like, all right, deal.
So I don't think you caught Monday's episode, but Daryl D. Hoop Harris was here. Mad applause to go around. Hoop was here, and we did a skit, essentially. I was Nico Harrison, and he was Pat Riley. And I was calling for Jimmy Butler. And just the nature of that conversation, I was like, just the way that he was talking to me, I said, oh, I think the rest of the league thinks Nico is like a pushover right now. The way he was talking to me, I was like, relax.
Apparently in-house, I don't know if it was like their comms or who in the Mavs organization, but I don't know if it was Nico himself, were just apparently shocked at the public reaction. Like, what did you think? That's
what's wrong. See, now the trade's not going to piss me off. That will piss me off.
Yeah.
Because like you being out of touch like that is going to frustrate me. But just to the Kyle Kuzma point really quick, I know you had brought it up. One thing that I can't say that Milwaukee got better in, I've watched certain times when a play stalls, right? And a play will be broken or a play stalls, and Giannis gets the ball left wing, top of the key, and he takes those 2 steps back. Again, I'm watching on TV, and I'm kind of like, dog, okay, so I know what's coming. I hope you guys know what's coming. What it appears that Milwaukee has lost is the second option to that, which is just dump the ball down to Chris Middleton at the elbow and get out of his way.
Yeah.
They did that last year at one point so what is that, 4 out of 5 possessions? I was thinking 8 out of 10 points. So 4 out of 5 possessions during one of those playoff games last year, exact thing. Came down by 18 seconds left on the shot clock. Yep, dump it down, everybody move.
Yeah, I guess the one kind of fix for that is that Giannis has been like career best in terms of mid-range and career high in terms of volume from the mid-range. And those looks are good looks for him at this point. And he's strayed away from the 3. He's not really trying any anymore.
Right.
So
he said, I'm done with that.
Yeah. So in those ISO situations, it's not as much like you were saying, 2 steps back and I'm just going to try and run through you and get to the rim. It's more he's able to, like, not a full bag, but he really can get to a shot in the mid-range. So I guess, like, they don't need that Middleton role as much to push back. But I hear you. They definitely lose a bit of that in getting Kuz, and they also gain some bad shots. He's gonna take, like he's gonna make them
take him with 21 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah, and
That's the worst part.
Thing is, he's got more like I'd say like single game ceiling than Middleton did. Like Middleton's not going to give
explode
you
for a game for
sure. Yeah, like those games are going to be there for Kuz, but in general, there's also going to be a lot of like high volume shots where he's shooting concert dates, and it's like
that's first of all, we're about to get to a team that probably was doing that as well as we wrap up this trade deadline talk. I don't want to say never. Phoenix made 2 trades, I think, during this trade season, and all the news that's coming out about that locker room.
Don't let me go about
is
Phoenix.
Nothing good.
Oh, are they similar to what's
How do you piss off KD when he already like? And this is gonna sound crazy because I keep telling people I rock with KD and in all my interactions with KD. If y'all say KD is sensitive, this is gonna piss him off. But for as moody as KD is, why do you want to piss that man off?
Yeah, it's puzzling. I mean, even if you are gonna try and shop him, I don't know how that gets out. If
it's gonna be quiet as hell if we do.
Yeah, but I think.
Did you see the report earlier where it said that Phoenix had called back teams and informed teams that they were no longer taking calls on Kevin Durant? Fam, it's 9 a.m. Trade deadline is over in 3 hours. If I'm KD, I'm like, well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, after you tried
listening for 2 weeks.
After you tried to shove me to Golden State, and I said, "No, I don't want to go there." And now you're gonna come back. You're gonna play. I'll
be so high. Oh, I do have a number for you, really quick.
Go ahead.
Well, multiple numbers since you're the number guy. So the Suns allegedly received calls from 20% of the NBA in terms of inquiring about acquiring Kevin Durant. That happened in the last 48 hours of the deadline. So apparently Dallas called 44 hours before the deadline. Golden State called 29 hours before the deadline. Your Miami Heat called 12 hours before the deadline. Yeah. The Rockets called 8 hours before the deadline.
I would have liked that fit a lot.
I would too. But it depends on, because I'm sure Phoenix wants a haul, right?
I mean, yeah, you could have Bari.
We got enough young pieces to where I would have gave you like 3, but
you could have Bari, you could have Dylan Brooks. We could get maybe one more in there. Reed, maybe, yeah. As long as we can keep.
Give me Dylan Brooks, but take Cam Whitmore.
Take all 3 of Cam, sure.
Cam is
as long as we can keep like Tari, Amen. I'm good, really.
Yeah, keep Fred as a championship winning point guard.
That's all we need.
Keep Jalen obviously.
Şengün's obviously an all-star this year, like that. That would have been a fun fit, but
I don't know, brother. That's not a bad one. Rockets 8 hours before the deadline. Memphis 5 hours before the deadline, and this is the one I actually like the most. Minnesota 2 hours before the deadline.
I heard about this one.
I like that one,
especially because Ant-Man and KD's relationship.
I'm here to win.
Yeah,
I understand, and I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Kevin Durant is never signing here, let alone taking the free agent pitch. That's what do y'all want for him? Yeah. I'm trying to keep Ant happy. What we got to do?
Thing is, they just gave up the whole yard for Rudy, and then traded Cataway a year and a half later. So it's yeah, but
still a
going back to Ishbia and the Suns, the same thing to me there is going on, like with the Mavs, where it's just like new owner syndrome, where they come in and they're just like dying to make moves and do everything they can to try and optimize the roster, but to the point where you're just doing way too much. And I think that's kind of happened. Like if you look back, they had the chance to draft Luka Doncic, right?
Yep.
They forego that. They draft DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
That goes wrong. You end up trading him to Portland.
That's my center in Portland. You better be nice.
Hey, he's looked good. They've won like 9 of the last 10 or something.
No,
they're hooping right now. Yeah. But he's not Luka.
Of course.
Could have drafted Luka. Ayton doesn't work out. They trade him to Portland and get back Nurkic, Grayson Allen, maybe Okogie.
Wow.
It was, and now you look, Nurk, they just sold for nothing. He's gone.
Okogie's gone. He's in Charlotte.
Okogie's gone. All they have left from the number 1 pick is Grayson Allen.
Remember that thing I said in the beginning about the researcher thing? That's what I mean. When you start to look, and that's my favorite thing to do now. Like in the past, like 2 years, going back and seeing how draft picks panned out.
Oh, they love doing the Shea trade.
Oh, bro, that's the one. That's the one that got me on it. I went back and looked at that trade and was like, oh, so they built their team off of Paul George's.
Yeah.
Good to know. And we see it in football a lot too. Did you see that Buffalo KC trade from like 2017?
No, I don't remember it.
Buffalo traded two draft picks in two separate trades to Kansas City, maybe like 7-8 years ago. One draft pick was Xavier Worthy. The other one was Pat Mahomes. If you end up not getting to a Super Bowl because you can't get past him and you gave them the pick, man, that's enough to make me relocate my team. We're just gonna start over, guys. Like literally start over. But yeah, man, I think we like you said before, we could have a full 2 hours on just the trade deadline. I think we knocked out a good portion of it. There's plenty other trades obviously to get to if we need if we wanted to fill this 2 hours with just that. But the funny thing about drawing up this show, it just means I took something else out. That's all it means. That's all it means. But we were going to briefly discuss All-Star Weekend. We got a little time to do that, so we don't have to worry about doing that tonight. You got anything else about the trade deadline before we move on to Aces news?
Not much. Just it's been, one of the best weeks as an NBA fan in a long time. I live for the deadline as a fan, as someone who just like is a roster nerd and loves knowing all the depth charts and seeing where the guys are and the different. It's been a fun week, so that's all I got.
So between the deadline, and I'm sure you and Will the same way, the first 2 days, the first 48 hours of free agent frenzy, those are the two times when just like in my personal life,
get
away.
Do not disturb,
just,
man.
Just let me rock, please. Like I'm gonna be probably talking to you, and the whole time I'm gonna be looking up at the TV, like.
Mm-hmm. I'm in the group chat and I'm on Twitter. That's it. I'm just locked in. I'm talking to the guys. I'm just looking at moves. Don't talk to me.
That's all I'm here for, guys.
Yeah.
That's all I'm here for. Like I said, I literally knew I was getting my hair retwisted today, and I was up today right before I hopped in the shower, and I was on my phone. Let me make sure. Okay, so Davion Mitchell got traded. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch everyone.
Bro.
I'm like, I didn't hear enough news today. Let me go and look.
Bro, I'm in class there today. Like, there's like a guest speaker up there. I'm just like looking at all of the updates. My guys are texting me, like people next to me looking like you see who just.
They would have thought I was sick all the time. I would have been like,
Achoo! Yeah, facts. I'm just like, I don't even feel bad. I got to read this today. Like,
I remember it was one time. Now that since we're giving stories real quick, I was in class when I was in high school, and I went to a high school that was pretty good in terms of baseball and basketball. Shout out to Westchester High School, and we usually knew when it came to baseball that draft day, it could happen. Draft day, we knew it could happen. We had the talent, right?
That's tough.
Shout out to Rob Gazelman, right, who ended up getting drafted by the New York Mets, played out here for the 51. So shout out to Rob. Shout out to Jamal Moore as well, who was drafted by the Dodgers, went overseas to Korea to play, and ended up not ultimately playing. And that's another thing, too. Jamal was maybe 6'1", 180, but he was a left-handed, like, ace for us. Chose to stop playing. And I just looked at him and was like, I don't want to tell you what to do with your life, but my God, brother. Like, in terms of left-handed pitchers that I've covered, I was like, you could have did something with that, bro. I was like, you don't want to learn from Clayton at all? I'm not gonna ask you no more questions, but I just want to know. I was like, my God, man, one of the craziest talents I've seen. But I add to that really quick. Kenny Peoples-Walls, who was our shortstop at the time. I was in class and I'm watching the draft on my phone. I was in Spanish class, so I'm watching it on my phone. There's nothing that excited to be about in Spanish class, right? I'm like, okay, cool. So now I see that he gets drafted. I'm kind of giddy. I'm like, all right, cool. So the homie got drafted. Who we get? Okay, so Kenny's going to St. Louis. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, this is before Jamal went. So I'm like, we got two. We got two in. He walks into the class I just stand up, dog, and walk over to him. And we're in the middle of class. Imagine like a teacher's going through the lecture. I stood up, walked over there, and hugged him. And he's obviously tears in his eyes. The teacher's like,
why was he in class?
What? First thing I asked him.
That's
but he
crazy
left.
work.
He left shortly thereafter too. Trust me.
Like,
But he was crying. The teacher was like, "What's going
he
on?"
didn't want to have a party.
I'll tell you what. When I got out of that, because Spanish was my 6th period. When I got out, Kenny wasn't on campus. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, that's fair.
Kenny wasn't on.
I might want to go to campus and get my shine too. Then, you feel me? Like, I
think he was on. My guess is he was on campus, knowing that it was coming.
Yeah.
And then whenever it was coming, I'm leaving. Like whenever.
But also,
happens.
I'll get some love first from campus. Like,
absolutely. As soon as the teacher asked why he was crying, and he said he got drafted. Of course, voice cracking and all.
Yeah.
The whole class erupted.
Man,
it was a moment for sure. Shout out to Kenny. I think he's out there coaching in LA now. So shout out to Kenny as well.
I was just gonna say,
this is a Thursday night show. We can do this.
While you're on that topic, and it actually relates to trades. Kevin Herter, who just got moved.
Yep.
He
that they're gonna need.
He struck me out when he was a senior on 3 pitches, 3 91-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Really?
He obviously was playing basketball, like was the Gatorade Player of the Year in New York, but was also like a nasty baseball player, center fielder and pitcher, and
never knew that.
Yeah, and it's crazy. His teammate was the 3rd pick in the draft that year. He didn't pitch against us, but Ian Anderson, he pitched for
plays for Bears.
Yeah.
What?
Shenendehowa High School in Clifton Park, New York. It's crazy. Kevin Herter is the logo for their basketball program now. But anyway,
that's iconic, dog.
Anyway, it's crazy. I'm going up to the plate, and then they call him in from center, and it's just 3 90-mile-an-hour heaters. I swung at each one of them, but
he was like, I didn't go up there just sitting.
Crazy work. I was gonna swing, like, yeah.
You know what makes that even better? Have you seen him since?
Like in person?
Yeah.
No.
So this year's summer league, that's my goal, brother. I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure this out. You gotta bring it up to him.
True.
For instance, I'll tell you why. And again, guys, this is Thursday. This is how our Thursday shows run. Again, we got Aces news coming up right after this story. I had a conversation with Sam Merrill after Cleveland won their summer league championship. And before the championship, I was like, you've hit a lot of big shots in this building, whatever. And then he obviously hit one in the title game. And he said something. He was like, for some reason, I've always felt comfortable here. Like, this is almost like a second gym to me, like, or second home to me, whatever. He said like 3 or 4 other things. And we were in the little media scrum, but obviously it's summer league, so it's a little more intimate. As soon as it was over, as soon as he was done with that question, I looked at him, and before I got to my next question, I was like, I went to UNLV, just so you know. So, and he started cracking up, and I was like, you can chill. Talking about this is your second gym. You can,
man.
Calm down.
Them Aggies, right?
It's like it was just one of those moments where I was like, I just gotta let you know that you're standing in front of a rebel. Chill out. And he, like I said, he got a good little laugh out of it. Obviously, we're sitting there laughing about it, but you gotta do an interview.
Yeah, those little stories.
And then afterward, be like, hey, by the way, could have threw in a random little 76-mile-an-hour off the plate, something.
A ball, like, let me get 4 pitches.
Please. Never mind. It doesn't even matter. I was about to ask you about film because I would have been like, Coach, I'm sick. I can't come in. I don't want to watch that with you.
No, yeah, we didn't tune
Next batting practice, I would have been like, Coach, where the trainer at?
We didn't worry about that. We didn't tune into that one.
Sounds about right. I think even with all of these changes that are coming to the Las Vegas Aces, I still think people will tune in. The only fear that I have is if you don't see the Aces that you've seen for the last 4 years, do not panic.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that first question, mostly because I really didn't expect anything different. I didn't even know people like you still have the best player in the world among others. Like, that you still have point guard. You still have Jackie Young. I don't understand. Like, yes, you lost some. Obviously, Kate very beloved here.
So see if you can list them off, all of them. 'Cause I'm
Kelsey.
trying my best to do it, and I have them written down. Maybe
Off
I'm
tops, Kate, Kelsey,
Yep.
Alicia,
wrong. Yep. Alicia Clark signed with Seattle today. Signed back with Seattle.
Sid,
Sydney Colson is now a member of the Indiana Fever.
and Tiff.
Tiffany Hayes is shout out to you, dog. Damn. Tiffany Hayes is also headed out on her way out of Vegas, but
Indy.
she's joining Natalie Nakase.
Oh no, yeah,
Golden
Valks,
State.
Valks, yeah.
But Sydney is in Indy.
India.
Another team that we should probably talk about. Once I saw the DeWanna
We
Bonner
got to,
sign,
yeah. They're loading up.
what
bro.
is happening, dog? And by the way, real quick, just a little fun fact I've been having fun with. For everybody that said that the league didn't like Caitlin Clark, there was an initiation process, a hazing process. Did she get it worse than some others? Yes. I do remember people were trying to do the same thing to LeBron James. It didn't work. I remember Kenyon Martin told stories about being a number 1 overall pick. He said, I did 4 years at Cincinnati, so didn't work. But it happens, right? To top picks. To everybody that said that they didn't like them personally, and all the women kept telling you, it's not that. It's not that. Let this offseason kind of be a small glimpse into that, because everybody is rushing in.
It's true. It's true.
We were not supposed to talk about Indiana, but since we're here, we're here.
I was gonna say, and that for some reason rushing in just made me think, and we won't even get into it, but I just have to say, because we didn't even mention him in the deadline,
Okay.
De'Aaron Fox was so smart for getting in with Victor
Oh,
Wembanyama.
wow. That's, yeah.
He was so smart for that. But anyway,
He's a thinker for that.
coming back to this, yeah, I think that's a great point. Obviously, everyone wants to play with her. They're all going there. So that was just. I don't
Her
even
and
want
DeWanna? I don't know if people know, but her and DeWanna,
That's gonna be
about
fun.
to be a problem.
Yeah,
And they kept Kelsey Mitchell.
and that's why that's why
Well,
Sid came. I guess she's really close with Kelsey, and that was a big part of it. But yeah, that's huge stuff. And going back to the Aces, it's crazy how
Yes,
they
sir.
lost. How many 6 players of the year have they lost in the last 5 years? Let's try and get that one.
First
Alicia,
of all, we
Kelsey.
lost 3 this offseason.
Alicia, Kelsey, and Tiff,
And De'Erica.
De'Erica. 4 in the last 5 years, and they're all gone.
Hey, you smoked that.
That's crazy though. Like,
So now I got 2 stories in my head, because either media day I could talk to Becky about that, or I could wait to the middle of the season and whoever that 6th player ends up being, let's just
Yeah.
say that they're in the conversation for it.
true.
It's more to be said about
Say
the roster.
you might
makeup.
be on thin ice if you're 6th player of the year coming up.
Yeah, you might want your opportunity elsewhere at this point.
That would be
right?
like a fiery question. Hey, like you're in the running right now. Like when you look back at the history, what do you think? Not that you would ask this, but like, yeah,
You know what's funny? You know what I have learned in this field, and you know probably better than anybody. You can ask what you want.
yeah,
Depends on the venue in which you ask it.
true.
I have asked some crazy questions, like some
Mhm.
off the wall. I did a story with Dan Cunningham, which is Lindy LaRock's husband.
Mm.
Like, that's a little different. You get me? Like, I'm literally telling him. Matter of fact, after doing that interview, this is the only time I've ever done it. I text him one night after breaking news when Tara Vanderveer actually retired. I text him that night because him and I had just had a conversation about Lindy just having her baby. And once she had their baby, I told him before she had her kid, or her first kid rather, that I could see her brain not stopping. Like, I could see her during the off season and be like, okay, I need you to cut that off. Like, you like you're stressing yourself. I couldn't imagine if that was my woman. You get me?
Mm.
So after talking with Dan that night, news broke. It was like 9:30. I'm at the bar, but I need to get a quote out. I hit him and was like, should I even do it? Like, what's the temperament? Like, if she been on basketball all day, he might be trying to get her to calm down.
Yeah,
So the last thing I want to do is disrupt
Try and
that
get her-
household,
yeah.
right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, you would never think that would even be a situation that I had to deal with. I didn't have to deal with anything, but after getting to know them,
Mhm.
this is where I should probably, this is how I should handle this particular situation.
yeah,
I said it before about Kelsey Plum. I did an interview with Darren Waller before they were public, right?
Mhm.
And he mentioned her name. I had a choice to make. When he mentioned her name during the game,
Yeah.
I'm sitting at that press conference like, I'm probably not going to get the best response from her if I ask right now.
Right.
As soon as she got off that stage, I asked the question to her personally. I got the answer.
Yeah. The discretion there is important. It's kind of like with the whole Asia and Bam thing this year. Where it was like obviously there. I walked by like Bam like 3 times at games.
Aces games.
Like
I thought the same thing because I'm
looking up at him. I'm like,
and then I was like, why?
And now they're finally public, so like I'm okay with talking about it. But
Right.
it was just such like a strange thing to like be like, and I can't say anything about it obviously because it's like it's not that you can't, but you just don't want to be that guy. So.
Absolutely not. And again, like you said before, it's just certain moments where you want to be that guy and where you don't want to be that guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it depends on what the nature of the topic is.
And like you said, when you build those relationships, you have the ability to decide like what you want to make privy or.
Absolutely. And on top of that, Asia, I don't know if she's going to change it, but I tell Asia all the time, I haven't covered every athlete, every superstar athlete, but Asia Wilson is the most approachable superstar I've ever been around.
Mm-hmm.
And people,
not even just to media, fans, like she's brilliant.
1000%.
Yeah.
She understands her role. She understands her status, right? She understands what she means. And I had one person recently ask me this and I kind of laughed about it, but they was like, I'm not going to say super close because I don't know Max Crosby, right? Mm-hmm. But there is a rapport there. Same thing I had with Darren when he was a Raider.
Yeah.
And they was like, oh, but Max Crosby. Max Crosby is a big ass white dude with tattoos. He may not be approachable for some. Don't bother me none.
Yeah.
But he may not be approachable for all. I don't know if anybody could tell me one time that they've ever seen Asia Wilson and you didn't see teeth.
Yeah, no. It's
even when she's playing.
And it's like, you don't even know what's going on. It's like she never has a bad day. Obviously, that's not true, and she probably shows up to work with a lot of stuff going on, as everyone does. But yeah, you never ever see it on her, and that goes into on the court, the way she plays. Like you said, it goes to the media, it goes to fans, and from everything I've heard, it goes in the locker room, and that's just the attitude that she brings. So.
And you kind of just talked about it in terms of the locker room, right? Asia brings a lot to the locker room to where even the players that were mentioning that have departed from this group during this offseason, you got a lot of pieces that not only are in Vegas now, but wanted to be in Vegas, right? And I remember when Jewel Lloyd was here when she won All-Star Game MVP, somebody asked her a question about Chicago. And I was telling my dad at the time, I was like, that was a bait question. Like they're setting her up to say something positive about Chicago, say that she has an indication to go there, even a desire to go there, and then let the ball begin to do what it does. Excuse me, but I remember when she was there, and everybody does it right, but it feels like it's different when it comes from certain people, and in the way that they say it. And she highlighted Mark Davis. And she highlighted the practice facility, and she highlighted what it means to women's sports.
Yeah,
obviously that Chicago question, she was talking about Dwayne Wade and his investment into the sport. Yeah. So she was talking about the investment into the sport and how that was a driving force for her, right? Candace Parker mentioned it as well before Candace came out here. I had my one-on-one with Candace at Media Day, and she was like, no, like I know you've heard it, but like, no, I'm very serious. Like I've never had a locker where I can leave my stuff in there and it stays. Yeah. Like she was like, I'm very adamant that mattered.
Apparently that's a big part of Phoenix attracting AT this offseason. The facilities were, I guess, a huge factor in that.
Have you seen their facilities too?
Mm-mm.
I know I love Vegas's facility because we're out here, but Phoenix did something.
Really?
Phoenix did something.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't seen it, but I mean, it had to have been a fact. She mentioned it was that or New York because of that stuff, so.
It matters, and now we're getting to the point to where everybody in the league is gonna move toward that standard.
Yeah, like all the jokes were about like her leaving the Mohegan Sun Community Center and having to say goodbye to all the families and stuff. But it's true. Like
if we're calling a spade,
it's true. I mean, like while most facilities have gotten significant upgrades, and there's not a lot, but there's the New York's, the Phoenix and the Vegas's.
Yeah.
There's still the Mohegan Sun centers and still, but I think that was just a huge factor in that one. But going back
to you see it in both leagues. Now that we talked about the NBA first,
no question.
See it in both leagues.
Yeah. and then also how organizations are run, like beyond the facilities
Yes.
themselves. That's seeming to be huge. But yeah, going back to what you mentioned about Jewel Lloyd, how do you think about the fit?
Pardon. I think Jewel Lloyd, if you're going to lose Kelsey Plum, which I predicted that they would lose Kelsey this offseason,
Sure.
I just felt like a shakeup was needed.
Mhm.
If you're going to lose Kelsey Plum, I think the best two options to replace her, maybe three, because Dejanay Carrington is in there. I like Jackie Young and Jewel Lloyd, and ironically enough, both play for Vegas.
Yeah.
So if you were to lose, if it was any team that was built to sustain a loss like Kelsey, especially bringing in somebody like a Jewel Lloyd, it's this team. I think one thing that's going to get shown early, let me not say that. I feel like one thing that I'm leaning toward, because now I got to go back and watch Jewel Lloyd's defensive intention, right? And that's what I'm big on. People can talk about Kelsey all day long, right? 9 times out of 10, you're going to bring up her scoring. You're going to bring up her heart. You're going to bring up whatever. In bringing up her heart, I tell people all the time, what's the difference between James Harden and Luka on the defensive end?
Like prime or right now?
Period. Not right now, actually prime. Not right now. And Luka's not even in it. That's why you do the trade.
Man.
My hardest argument, or my argument was always Luka, you can at least look like you're trying.
I was going to say Luka gives a little more. You think he gives a little more effort than Harden did?
I think Harden does.
Mm.
I think Harden at least.
I think nowadays he definitely does.
I think Harden to get into a stand, not in Houston.
That's what
I mentioned it before. I mentioned Houston. He's not.
No, that's what I was thinking.
You want me to score 50 or not?
Right. Today's Clippers Harden, yeah, way more effort.
Even Philly,
way more. To an extent.
I'm not mad at Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, you. First of all, you got.
Even
Joel
Brooklyn, when it was just him on the floor.
I didn't want to say it because everybody hates his Brooklyn stint, but
when you go back and look, he was not the biggest one to blame in Brooklyn, in my opinion. He played the most games out of the three. He was just really good when he played. Yeah, they just never got on the floor together. But that's a different story.
No, you're absolutely right. But that's my difference, right? In terms of, I believe James at least looks the part.
Yeah.
At least even if the guy blows by you, I can look at James Harden and say, you're trying.
Mm-hmm,
and that's one thing that I always felt about Kelsey. When I watch Kelsey on defense, you may look at you may look at a Jackie Young and say, okay, cool. That's our best perimeter defender. Then you look at Alicia Clark and you go, okay, cool. That's who we're going to put on on the best offensive player in crunch time.
Yeah.
Cool. Nobody ever talked about Kelsey's defense. And my only thought about it was, yeah, you're not going to see that many steals. Yeah, you're not going to see that many whatever turnovers for us, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey tried her ass off on the defensive end. And I don't know Jewel, right? Talked to her like twice.
Either,
but every time I watch Jewel, I'm not watching it from that lens. Now I feel like I got to go watch 12 Jewel Lloyd games and just watch her intention on defense.
Yeah.
Because if her intention isn't there on defense, Vegas might have lost the trade.
For sure. I mean, to an extent, like you said, I think it was inevitable. I think Kelsey was gonna go. So to recoup that, I think she's really good. I think that's good value. But beyond the defensive stuff, I'm hoping the efficiency can go up a little bit.
Okay.
I think she fits really well. And also I think it gives the chance for Chelsea to be a little more of the primary like distributor, and playmaker. Because Kelsey, I think Kelsey was a little more comfortable passing the ball and stuff, whereas from what I'm understanding, whereas Jewel is really more of just a bucket getter.
That is the one thing that I thought about too, and I'm happy that you said it that way, because similar to what I said about Giannis and Chris Middleton, yes, you would be able to go get the ball to Kelsey, and 90% of the time, Kelsey would be able to go get you a bucket. I don't know how many times you're going to get a higher of a percentage than 90%. Let's even give her 80, right? But I do think Jewel Lloyd is a better fit in that regard, like you said before, because if we're just talking about just natural hoopers, and since we're talking about this on the show, in terms of natural hoopers, I just heard Gil's Arena had this conversation. Like, who's top 5? Like, I just had the AD comment about top 5 talents, just natural hoopers.
Yeah.
Like, roll the ball out, and they're hard to stay in front of. I heard them saying some names, and I'm not mad at the names by no means, but a name that came to mind for me was Dennis Schroeder. And I know a lot of people may be like, Dennis Schroeder, what? And start pulling up stats. Go look at Dennis Schroeder with a basketball in his hand.
Yeah.
I dare any of you to stand in front of him.
That's why I thought he was going to help the Warriors a lot when they got traded for him, man.
Talk about one that fizzled out.
Man, he's been on 4 teams in the last 24 hours. Literally.
Real quick, too. I'm so happy that you said that. Real quick, too. Who was it? Can't think of who it was. But shout out to the Golden State Warriors, and I'm going to give them a round of applause. Because, I'm going to try to come back next week and give the team. I think it might have been the Clippers or something. A couple of years ago, they made a trade, right? The trade turned out to be like a Dennis Schroeder type situation. They traded him again, and they got off him.
Mm-hmm.
I commend teams that do that because there are some teams that are married to bad decisions and be like, okay, well, maybe we could try to make it work, or we're going to try to bring in an additional piece to make this first piece work. They brought him in and realized after about 15 games, 20 games. Okay, yeah, let's go. Let's go ahead and get off this. This ain't gonna work for us.
I agree, and ultimately, it helped them get Jimmy. Like that was. So I agree. You can't get tied to it, especially, as a middling team that's trying to compete. So,
and that was the point that I was originally making, right? Just in terms of top 5, just ballers. You could do the same thing in the WNBA. Joel Lloyd might be one of those few people that is at the top 5-7 of WNBA players currently. Mm-hmm. And probably on that list of top 5 just hoopers in general. So I do think Vegas picks up something in that regard. I think her getting her baskets is going to look a little easier than Kelsey made it look sometimes. And this is not a shot at Kelsey. It's more of another feather in the cap for Jewel. But you add to the fact that I was low-key. I don't really hunt people down in the city unless I have to. I've been hoping that I saw Becky Hammon. I really was. And I don't know Becky well enough to know where she hangs, if she hangs. But I've been waiting to ask Becky, and I'll ask her at Media Day, just in terms of priority lists. Where was getting a true center on that list? Yeah. Because Vegas finalized the deal earlier today for Cheyenne Parker Titus, all-star center from the Atlanta Dream, now joining A'ja in Vegas. A'ja can go back to her original position. And to anybody that wonders what this could look like, the same thing that I've said all past 2 years, rather, when it comes to A'ja. There's one name, and I know people hate when we compare WNBA and NBA, right? But respectfully, if your name is not Breanna Stewart, I don't really think you could talk to A'ja if you're in the W as of right now, just in terms of resume. Like, obviously, Diana Taurasi, that's a part of that GOAT class. And so we understand that. But
no, it's those two, yeah.
That's the way I feel. But I view it from, if you're going to compare her to somebody, and I'm waiting to hear what Becky said, because I do want to bring it up to her. I never got to cover Tim Duncan. But that's the only person I want to compare A'ja to. So when everybody asks, what does this Cheyenne Parker Titus move mean? What did Tim Duncan look like when he was able to go back to his 4 spot? What does Anthony Davis look like when he's able to go back to his 4 spot?
Yeah. No, it's a good point. They, Kia, they swapped her in and out of the starting lineup a lot because it just wasn't working for stretches last year. So yeah, I think to get her not an actual, it's disrespectful. To get her like an all-star level running front court running mate is huge. And yeah, I think that's a fun fit. They're going to be really good. I guess she's playing in China right now, averaging like 17 and 9 or something. But
that's crazy. And then you're about to add that next to an A'ja. And keep in mind, one of the names that I said coming out of last season, I said a name that I would be interested in is Tierra McCowan from Dallas, right? If they already have the top pick, let's see how far they're willing to strip the cupboard bare. I'm going to try to go snatch Tierra because I know if nothing else, I got a defensive anchor that's behind A'ja that is a bigger body.
Yeah.
This is better than Tierra McCowan. So I don't know if anybody needed to hear that, but this is definitely a better move than that one. Two things really quick. I'm going to get to my mom's tip in right now before we get ready to get into Lady Rebels, Running Rebels, and then we got the Vegas Golden Knights before we end with the Super Bowl. Just kind of letting you guys know what's kind of coming up. If you guys have seen me on camera, like waving in front of me, these lights are so bright that you can literally see everything. And the thing is, I'm sitting in front of a couple of black like backgrounds. So I see every piece of hair. I see every floaty.
Dust.
So I'm in the middle of talking to Kevin and I'm looking straight ahead and I just see a floaty go right by. I'm like,
I'm thinking it was like a bug over there.
I'm thinking I'm going crazy, dog. Cause I have very sensitive eyes. My eyes are already dry. Let one of those floaties fall in here.
It's over.
It's over, bro. I'm doing the whole show like this the rest of the way. But yeah, man, let's get to my mom's tip in and then we'll get to some Lady Rebel basketball. My mom's tip in is a quote from Rosa Parks. Of course, happy Black History Month, guys. My mom's tip in is, I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. I'll read it one more time. I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. So shout out to my mom for that tip in. Lady Rebels, big win, 89-51 over the Utah State Aggies. Again, you covered the Lady Rebel game for us earlier this year for the Talk That Talk Media Company. Did you get a chance to catch this game?
I did not know.
So all right, how am I going to do this? So every sport is different. And I feel like this is the perfect time to bring it up because especially since you've covered a game and you've watched games this year, and you watched the men's games this year. Two completely different programs, just in terms of where they're at, right? One has a higher expectation and one is kind of craving getting back to that level of expectation, right? The only thing that's been consistent in covering the men's team this year is that it's been inconsistent. As far as the women's team, somewhere in the second quarter, it's going to play out like Bud Crawford and they're going to figure you out. Like once the second quarter hits, the team usually goes, oh, okay, we figured it out. I'm watching this Utah State game and I'm at work. I had a busy 2 weeks, right? So I'm at work, got my little, and I work at the bar, but they know when it's a game on, my iPad is up, my tablet is out. I mean, my keyboard is out. Y'all know, this is my second job. My first one is this media company. So I'm sitting there covering the game. Halfway through the second quarter, I look up and I realize Utah State has one made field goal in the second quarter. I think they shot 2 for 12 in that frame. Anytime you have a 10-minute session like that with the Lady Rebels,
it's over.
You're going to lose.
It's funny. The one game I covered went exactly like that. It was like the first quarter. I don't remember exactly. They gave up a lot, like 27.
Something that they don't do often.
Yeah, and then turned the switch on, and Spaz gave up like 10, 9, and 10 in the second, third, and fourth or something. Like, they're a fun team to watch for sure.
Very fun. And the funny thing is, this is not a shot at the men's team. Everything is going to seem like a shot at the men's team. But I remember last year I said it. Somebody said something about the men's team. And I said, respectfully speaking, I said, you guys are missing the best show on campus, which is the one that's across the hall. I know you guys don't talk about him until March, but it's kind of an important show over there. And at the time, actually, I didn't realize it was going to happen, but we were in the midst of what would be a perfect season for the Lady Rebels in terms of conference play. Only 2 teams won 30 games last year. One was South Carolina, and the other one was the Lady Rebels. So just to give you an idea of where this team is.
I was going to say, didn't they have a Mountain West streak? I saw your tweet a while back of like 50 something.
Yeah, so in their last 52, I think that's when they caught their loss. They had won 51 of 52 Mountain West games before San Diego State beat them at the buzzer. And that when I'm talking to Lindy, I'm trying not to like downplay a loss, but I'm also trying not to make it a big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm in that moment and I was kind of like, with a record like that, a run like that, of course it kind of comes down to a shot where you just got to tip your cap, right? And she was like, yeah, like shit. Essentially, somebody got to beat us, and they beat us. Like we didn't lose the game; they went and beat us.
Speaking of, they got them again on next Wednesday.
I can't wait.
Speak of one.
When I tell you that, and I'll let you guys know a little bit about me, just in terms of where I work. Right, you guys know I bartend. Because they know that this is my first job, essentially. Right, they work around it. But the one night that I mainly give them all the time, it's Wednesday nights. I can give y'all Wednesdays. I'll figure it out, right? You think I'm working this Wednesday?
Hell no.
Dog, I seen my schedule and seen I wasn't on the shift. And I was like, why am I not closing my bar on Wednesday? You right. I won't be there.
Yeah. Oh, so you didn't even, they just knew?
I send them my schedule a month in advance since we got games.
Forgot about it. Yeah.
So I send them my month and then they schedule me accordingly.
So you're like, oh, I get Wednesday.
That's usually how I know. So this week I had 5 days on the schedule, right? Super Bowl week. I'm looking at the schedule like, I ain't got no games this week.
Yeah.
Bro, I looked at my phone and was like, no, I have games this week. Like, what is going on? But yeah, man, Wednesday night, I will not be in the bar. You can catch me at Cox Pavilion checking out the Lady Rebels and the San Diego State Aztecs. Before that, the Lady Rebels are first in action on Saturday against New Mexico. That is February 8th. It's a 2 p.m. start time. That's going to start that 2-game homestand. They're 18-5 overall and 10-1 in the Mountain West. What are they? 2.5 games up on Wyoming as well. So good for first in the Mountain West.
Oh yes.
Talk to me.
Colorado State, Wyoming, both 7-3 in the Mountain West.
Okay. Yeah, 73 and we're
10-1, yeah.
Yep. So whoa, I was about to say I went to the wrong camera. So yeah, guys. So the Lady Rebels are kind of in a prime position like they have been the past 4 years now. So yeah, so we're gonna slowly shift gears rather to the Running Rebels, and this is, I'm trying to be delicate. I don't know if people want me to be delicate at this point. Remember how I told you that I need Kevin Kruger to coach the way that he played?
Mm-hmm.
I saw Kevin like fired up, like on the sideline during this game, like the whole game.
Yeah.
And I was like, beautiful. Like, this is what we need. As a media member, I'm not sitting here saying that I want to be yelled at. But if I hear Kevin Kruger walk into a press conference after a loss and say, obviously not the outcome we wanted again, I'm going to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Because he should have been pissed after the Memphis game. And he wasn't. He should have been pissed after the Wyoming game. And he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been pissed after this one. And he wasn't. And I said, that is why this team is on a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, it's tough to say, what the locker room's like. Obviously, we're sitting in the press room. We don't know. But it's, I agree. I like the fire he brings on the floor. And I think that if that can, go throughout the whole program, I think that is a huge bonus that needs to be brought, because there's just some incredible passiveness sometimes through large stretches of the game.
So 2 things that you just said that stood out to me. You said passive, obviously. We know what that means, but you said through long stretches of the game. And there's moments where, like you said before, it's like, I think I just had a incident recently. I don't know if I was watching Dallas. What game was I watching? I was watching something. And I was like, dog, call the time out. Like, how long are you going to let this happen? And it's not always a timeout with Kevin. Yeah. Granted, in his tenure to start his first year or two, it was like, okay, Kevin, we need you to call a timeout, and you're not calling it. Now it's smaller things, in my opinion. It's a substitution. It's laying into a guy when you need to lay into him. Again, shout out to Matthew Raftery. Matt talked about it when he was here. Carlin Hartman would pull guys to the side and be like, hey, and it looks like they're having a real uncomfortable conversation because I need more from you. I need better from you. And I don't really know if we have that on the roster and on the staff rather, and if we've had that since Carlin Hartman was here. I'll tell you this. I told you guys I was wrong before when I came in here and I said I don't think UNLV is looking at getting rid of Kruger. And I told you guys last year somebody hit me and said that the seat was hotter than I thought. I said, okay. So I had to come in here and I had to report again and say, hey, somebody told me I should pump my brakes, that maybe his seat isn't as secure as I thought. The entire time, I still didn't have something to point to and say, this is why Kevin Kruger needs to lose his job. I still haven't really found a reason, right?
Yeah.
Earlier this season, at one point, I think it might have been right before the Fresno State game, they flashed Kevin Kruger's record, and he was 69-48. I said, so if Kruger goes 500 this year, the man is 20 games over 500.
Yeah.
And will probably be fired. Where does this program go from there, right? That was my takeaway. When I sit back and I ask myself that same question to that person who texted me a year ago and said that seat is hotter than you think, these 5 straight losses to drop to 5-7 in the conference and 11-12 overall, first time during his tenure, I looked at this and said, this warrants a firing.
It's like last time I was here, I remember I mentioned that they'd play really well for 26 minutes and there'd be 4-minute stretches. For the last 5 games, it's been the complete opposite. It's been disconnection and just not the flow that's needed for 25 minutes, 24, 26 minutes. And then they've made a really good push somewhere in the second half.
Right.
Every game in the last 5 minutes. And it's like, it's frustrating because you see, glimpses of what the product should be when they're clicking and they go on those stretches where, especially when the bench gets involved and like the other night they had like 3 consecutive steals to get back into the game. And it's like, if they can play with this level of intensity, which we know they can, for 40 minutes or even just for more than 7 minutes, it's like they'd be in a lot better spot right now, I think.
So I'm happy that you said that because I asked Kevin about that specifically after the game. And for the first time in a long time, Kevin gave me, some people call it an excuse, but Kevin answered my question. And my takeaway was, I get why he did it. And I asked him, I was like, those 3 straight, like you said, 3 straight steals, all ends in rim runs. You get 2 dunks, you get a layup by Jalen Hill. Or maybe it was Bedford. I know Jalen Hill had one, Bedford had one, and I'm missing another one.
I think
Brooklyn Hicks had another one. Thank you. And I'm watching that, and I asked Kevin after the game, I'm like, so obviously you guys didn't do a lot in terms of ball pressure throughout the game, and then you finally get to him at the end. So I asked him, was that one of those moments where you abandoned the game plan and you was like, if we want a shot, we got to go for it? Is that one of those moments, or was it one of those moments to where something different started to click and maybe you didn't abandon the game plan, but maybe you got to it?
Yeah.
And I actually liked Kevin's answer, and some people may not have because of the way it ended, but he basically said, no, we didn't abandon the game plan. We just got more aggressive. He said, so he answered my question without answering it from the standpoint of clearly the game plan is not to pressure them too much. As he said before, and this is what he said verbatim, this team has a lot of passers. So if you create that ball pressure, it's not like you have 2 guys to worry about making the play.
Yeah.
All of them can make the play. So like he said, you do that early in the game, they get 3 straight possessions with baskets, you're down 7 before you can look up.
Yeah.
Kevin answered it. I said, that makes sense.
And like that's the kind of thing that it's like easy for a fan and even media to criticize and not think about that thing. Why don't you just, keep that level of ball pressure up for 30, 40 minutes? But like you say, it's unsustainable when there's going to be stretches where you just 12-0 run in 2 minutes. But I do think that, like, I don't think you have to go like full on, but I think that an increase in ball pressure there that kind of mimics those minutes would help a lot, especially when you think about DJ and the jump that he's taken in terms of guarding the ball and even picking up in the backcourt and stuff. I think if they lean more into that stuff, they they'd be a lot more like optimized on the defensive end, and then they'd get out and transition more, which they need to do. So,
And I'm happy that you said that too, because let's mention one last Lady Rebel thing before we get on to the next thing.
Running Rebel or Lady Rebel?
Lady Rebel. Before we get back to the Running Rebels, before we leave the Running Rebels,
Yeah.
because you were talking about flexibility on defense, right? And again, I don't know how well these coaches know each other in terms of like, obviously that's not the same game, but just in terms of just balancing philosophies off of each other, coaching staffs even as a whole. Again, you've covered the team. This is so easy when you've covered the team already, and you cover both. So this helps a lot. You've covered the Lady Rebels, and you know about their full court press defense. Say it.
You don't know what it reminds me of, but it's like mimics, kind of.
I have one in my head, and I'm like, they saw it this year, which was Arizona's.
Richard Pitino's New Mexico.
That's a great one.
The pace they play with, turnovers they create, the ball pressure, 94 feet. Like, that style is fun to watch. And, I think that's like a really, really good fit. And I think that, like you said, I don't know how much collaboration there is, but I think that would really help. Again,
you may not take what they're using and
Right.
run it, right? But you may, and honestly, as a coach, you may not want to give it, but just philosophy.
I was going to say, there's something to be said about just like testing your, whatever it is,
and just being a basketball
theories, your philosophy, like just being able to,
me and Kevin get in one, or you, me and Kevin, you are Kevin. You, me and Will get in one room and we get to giggling like schoolgirls. Like, people are probably like, who are they talking about?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And then
Trying to figure out why the 2-3 zone is banned. That's it.
And then when we have like real discussions, it's like iron sharpening iron, where you have to think deeper about like why you believe this thing about a team or a player. And so, like in the same vein as a coach, it's like, why are you choosing to, have this substitution pattern or like implement this defense and not lean into, like those. I'm sure they do, but those conversations are so valuable to have within your peers.
No, you're absolutely right, and especially when you're following and working in a conference where the Air Force teams mirror each other. There have been seasons where the Colorado State teams mirror each other. Like when Graham Ike was at Wyoming has stayed big on the women's side, but when Graham Ike was at Wyoming, they mirrored each other, right? Yeah. So it's important for a multitude of reasons. But I've seen Lindy, I think I mentioned it a couple of days ago. I've watched Lindy and this group hop into a full court press for like 30 minutes of the 40 minutes. And I've even asked the players, like, is that a punishment? Like, that don't seem like y'all should want to do that. Then they'll come out the next game, not use it for the full first quarter. I'll go after the game and look at Lindy and be like, hey, dog, I cover the team. I'm embedded with you guys. I can show up to practice. I don't know when you guys are doing X, Y, and Z on defense. And Lindy laughs and be like, yeah, everything is designed differently. I think I asked her, we can get off of this one. I think I asked her about, you had the Colorado State game. So did I have Boise? I think it was Boise. And they didn't hop into the full court press early. And I was like, why didn't you guys do it? And she was like, honestly, it's knowing their head coach. She was like, he is going to make you do one of two things. He's either going to make you keep it clean and like take care of the ball because he's going to try to muck it up.
Yeah.
Or he's going to force you to make shots. She said it's one or the other. Like, you can't do both. You can't create the ball pressure and leave us open, essentially daring us to take shots. Yeah. So I have to see which one he does. And like she said, tonight, he dared us to make shots. We didn't make them. Like, we got past him toward the end, but I couldn't go into a full court press because I don't know if they're pressing.
Yeah. It's funny. I played for my high school coach, was really similar in that sense that like we had 4 different defenses. One of them was like more complicated than any that I see in most high division one. Like, he was like really leaned into having versatile and different defenses that we put in, matchup zones, like a bunch of different stuff. And so, yeah, I think that's like a huge skill to have as a coach, is to be able to, like you said, every game is going to be different. You're going to have to fit different schemes based on their coach, based on their players, based on how your team's feeling, based on your health. Like,
I'm glad you said health because Amarachi Kempson came back for the Lady Rebels this game. Lindy did say after the last game it was just precautionary, but still important to mention after that fall she took on her tailbone. While you were talking, I thought about another person that you need to meet. You've been in a room with him. You've been in several rooms with him, whether you know it or not. And you actually just was right there next door to him in terms of covering him. Have you met Roman Owen one-on-one, the assistant coach for the Lady Rebels? One of the assistant coaches, rather, for the Lady Rebels. So my goal is to make that happen within the next 2 weeks. Say it. What you got to say?
No, I was gonna say I might be soon, but
no, we can do it. We can do it Saturday. I don't care when you're ready. We can do it.
Yeah, okay. All right, bye.
Let's do it. Let's definitely do it. Only reason why is because Roman is you just said something about a matchup zone. And because I try to pay attention to the defense, I forgot what question it was, but I asked him a question about a matchup zone. This when Desi was on the roster. And I said, I'm trying to figure out what the defense was. I said, because it looked like you guys were in a 2-3, but Desi was the floater. So it looks like you guys are in a matchup. Yeah. Like, what are y'all in? And he laughed and he was like, Terrell, that's a great observation. And he broke it down. Mm-hmm. I said, did y'all make that up? Because that doesn't make sense to me. You're somewhere wedged between a 2-3 and a matchup zone. That's not in anybody's handbook. Mm-mm. You gotta talk to Roman. Me and Roman, I talk to him every time I have an X's and O's.
Because it's funny, it's so funny. I used to play. I wasn't a starter. I was probably 7th, 8th man. I played almost only in man defenses because I really could guard 90 feet. I was getting a lot of deflections. Yeah, but and it's funny because I had a year that I missed from the program. So my understanding of the defense, I'm telling you, it was a complicated defense, and it's fun now because at the time I also was really I played baseball in college. I was really big into also baseball, and there was a lot going on. I wasn't as big a basketball mind as I am now. So to think back to all the defenses and stuff, and to talk to my coach about it and stuff is it's been a blast. So yeah, I definitely want to meet him.
No, you have to meet Roman. You have to meet Ro. I actually, while we move on to the Vegas Golden Knights and we talk about coaching, right? I had a conversation with Lindy because Lindy, when she was pregnant the first time, she had to take time away right before she gave birth, right? And this is one of the moments where you should just do a little bit more digging before you say it. I had told Lindy, I was like, well, obviously in the time that you were out, whatever the case may be, you had some people fill in for you. I'm boosting up her assistant coaches. And I was like, with all due respect, Roman was he's the associate head coach. Roman sat in the big chair when she was gone. And I was like, I don't know if you know or if I'm breaking any news, but you got a head coach right there. Mm-hmm. And she was like, he's been a head coach before. As soon as she said it, I said, oh, okay. Right. It makes a world of difference. When I talk to Roman and I have a conversation every year as reoccurring. We talk about which player on the team has made the biggest jump. So for instance, it doesn't have to be the best player.
Yeah.
Who went from point A to point B and whose is the furthest? For instance, last year we had a conversation about Kiana Wilfred. Shout out to Key. I've looked at her last year when she was playing, or maybe 2 years ago, and I was like, that's not the same girl from earlier this year. And Roman was like, no, you're right. I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
Really quick. I left it quiet. I went back and forth on camera for a reason. Because the Knights are back into the win column. Drum beat too. I'll take the drum beat and everything else with it. Because the Knights are back into the win column. And I've had so many people panicking, and I'm happy that you're here. Somebody who obviously is working with the communications team with the Golden Knights. So I won't ask you your analysis too much about the team, but obviously you have eyes. You're watching whatever you're watching. But the amount of people that came to me and was ready to panic, and I told them, hey guys, I know I'm the one that's I'm not gonna say I'm a Vegas hater, but yeah, I'm the one who was telling everybody these dog days are coming. Mm-hmm. They still haven't came yet, so you're right. I'm wrong. But I kept saying that these dog days are coming, right? The amount of people that came to me and was like, well, I mean, you always point out that this may happen, that this may happen, that may happen. You're worried, right? No. I told you guys before, if this would have happened in October, November, December, I would have been worried.
Yeah.
I told you guys the moment that calendar flipped to 2025, whenever it came at this point, the Vegas Golden Knights would be fine as long as it was not like the final week of the season.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say, for the people panicking, if you watch like what Bruce is talking about after these home losses of January, like it all makes sense, and there's a reason that he's not panicked at all. I'll just say that much. And then the other thing that I'll say, and this is also a Bruce quote, is that they went 500 in January. If you go 500 as your worst month of the season, you're in a pretty good place. So another reason that I think a lot of the panic is unwarranted.
And pardon, another thing that I'm gonna bring up, and I'm sure Kevin knows, the early part of the season, I wasn't sure. Who did I hit up? It might have been Isaiah. Shout out to Isaiah Torres, who covers the Golden Knights for the company. I hit Isaiah early in the season, and I told him after the first like 12 games or so, I said, go back and look at who they played. And he went back and did it. I said, they're playing every top team early. So yeah. I would be worried if, like we talk about strength of schedule, right? I would be worried if the Knights played all bottom feeders in the first half of the year, and now you're running into the top contending teams, and you're having an issue with them. Then I'll be like, okay,
yeah, they weren't beating the strugglers early. They were playing well against contenders, and still, even if you look at some of their stretches where they struggled. The games against they've played well against the top competition. So
that's the overtime losses, right?
Yeah, yep.
That's them shootout losses that we talk about. And also too, and I know this is not baseball, and y'all know how much I love baseball. There are not going to be as many outliers in 162 games.
Yep.
But this is a long season.
Yeah.
And I even said it, I think 2 episodes ago. I was like, oh, I'm not panicked. Kind of similar to the Kevin Kruger thing. I'm like, oh, I'm not panicked. I came in the next show and I was like, where's that break start? I think this team will be fine once the break starts. I seen it was 4 more games to the break. I said, cool. I said,
it's hitting at a good time.
I said, they going to need this break for sure.
Yeah. And still, like, we're barely halfway through the season. Like, there's a lot of time left after we get back from break. So,
and keep in mind, too, Bruce Cassidy said it earlier this year, right? He said when the team wasn't playing great, he said the top line was carrying them. And he would also obviously be typical Bruce, be typical hockey guy and say, well, I mean, that's what your first line is supposed to do. So, and my favorite quote is, one of my favorite quotes is, I'm not finna applaud a fish for swimming. And I feel like Bruce Cassidy lives it. Like Bruce Cassidy is like, the top line has been great. They've carried us. And then he thinks about it. I mean, that's what they should do. But yeah. When we don't have it, this is what we need.
Yeah.
So I'm here to say, even in these struggles, I'm paying attention to the top line, right? Again, we had this conversation not too long ago about leader. Does your leader need to be your best player? We heard it on Gil's Arena, and we thought it was a valid conversation. Mark Stone is the leader of this team.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Eichel is the best player.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Eichel's numbers in his last 11 games, he has 13 points. He only hasn't accumulated a point in 2 of those games.
And look at Hurdle, too. He had about an 11 game point streak just now. Like same stretch, he's been balling. So
I'm trying my best not to be a Vegas hater that everybody claims that I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick and tired of Vegas losing a piece and then bringing another piece in, and it's like they never missed a piece.
Yeah, they know
that Tomas Hertl pick. That I can't even talk. That Tomas Hertl pickup. In the moment, I was like, "Oh, that could be huge."
He's gotten like,
and it has been.
Yeah, it's gotten progressively more huge. Like he's really fitting there. So,
and I think I asked Bruce Cassidy about this earlier this year too, about Tomas Hertl in the power play, and like he said, he finds a way of getting to his spot.
Get there, yeah. He just gets to
like he was like, our guys do it. Our guys know how to do it. Our guys practice it. He finds a way to get free every time.
Yeah,
and it matters. 2-0 after the second period in this one. Nick Waugh scored. Shea Theodore scored before Eichel put the Knights ahead 3-0 before the Jersey Devils scored 1 to finish the game 3-1. What was you about to say?
I was just gonna say it's a shame we didn't get any Super Bowl talk.
And that's the funny part too, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm gonna give you guys maybe 10 minutes or so if we can. But my dad's sipping is about the Super Bowl. So that's gonna save us a little bit.
Right.
I'm thinking tomorrow, because I expo, I think I'll be able to come back in tomorrow night. And
Right.
maybe we'll do a quick little show. I also think that I have time. Yeah. Saturday we got the game
There's a
at
lot
2.
going on.
Maybe-
Yeah.
So tomorrow, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get a show in, especially if we're doing a Super Bowl breakdown. I'm gonna be completely honest. I just talked about how I prep. You talked about how you prep. It will be a 4-hour show about a
Yeah.
game that's not going to be 4 hours. So
No.
I'm gonna try to condense it and make sure that we can get some talking heads in here and maybe do a 30-45 minute show. Do something light just to
Just
talk about the
Get
Super
our
Bowl.
picks, quick thoughts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously the pending implications for both sides. Obviously, if they were to win, somebody asked me who I was rooting for today. I was like, root is a strong word, but
Yeah.
who votes against history if you don't have a say so in it? You know what I mean? The 3P would be dope to say that I saw. Am I tired of the Chiefs? Sure.
It's like that's like a Warriors. Someone rooting for the Warriors back then.
1000%.
I can't find it in me to do it.
You can't.
Mm-mm. I was never a hater. I was never, because they didn't bother me at that point. But
Mhm.
I was never rooting for him, partially because Will's a Warriors fan. I was never going to give that to him.
Yeah, that's a
But-
great point.
And also, I just like the Eagles. I don't know. I love Saquon. I like Jalen. They're fun.
I feel like if I root for Philly, I'm just rooting against New York.
Plus, my mom's from like 20 minutes outside of Philly. I'm on the Eagles, man.
You have no choice.
I'm on the Eagles, man.
I would have led with that. I would have been like, Mama,
Yeah.
Philly. Yep, we're
Shout out to
doing
my
it.
Dukes, man.
Word,
Go
word.
Birds.
Oh,
It's funny 'cause-
About that part.
I'm like the Pennsylvania rival too. Feel me? Like, but for now, go Birds.
But for now, go Birds. Hey, honestly, that's what I feel about every Laker team or every LA team.
Not the Clips.
Not to sound like that. I've never really been put in a position where I had to root for the Clips.
True.
Like, so that's like
What about like when Lob City was popping?
I was a Blake fan.
Yeah.
I've always been a Blake fan since he was
Like in that,
college,
and they're
so.
like
And my brother knows I love CP just in terms of the way he plays the game. But
yeah.
them two being I love Melo.
So like, who, were
I
you
wasn't a
rooting,
Nick fan.
were you rooting for the Clips though in like their playoff series?
Oh, that one year that I did root for him, I'm happy that you said that. It was 06, the first time they made it to the
Oh,
semis.
that early.
It was when Sam Cassell and Tim
Word.
Thomas was there.
Yeah.
That's the one time I'm a huge. I'm a Duke fan.
Okay. Yeah.
I grew
Yeah.
up a Duke basketball fan. So once
Word.
Elton Brand and Corey McGee was on the same team, I was like, it's a wrap. Go
Yeah.
ahead and give me this team.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was definitely a team I used to always watch. Lawler's Law. I should have never committed that to memory.
But in
whatever.
general, LA teams, you're saying?
Yeah, no. In general, LA teams, I like when the Packers got eliminated, right? The homie hit me and was like, "Who you got winning it all?" I said, "Who am I rooting for?" He was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm the Rams. Like it's home. Like I don't hate the Rams to the point to where I don't want to see them win. I don't really hate the Lakers. I grew up a Pacer fan. I don't have anything against the Lakers. Like I don't really hate y'all. I hate the Knicks. Like and the Bulls get under my skin. The Pistons, y'all know what it is. Like." I have the teams that I don't like, and the Lakers aren't one of them. And I feel the way about. I grew up a Ducks fan, but I never went to a game.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, I don't hate the Kings. Like so, from that standpoint, if my team isn't in it, I'm always gonna root for the home side. That's more so where I'm at with it.
I'm kind of.
But then Laker fans make me look crazy.
It's funny. Like I'm not by no means a Knicks hater. I'm from New York, so that's obviously part of it. The Heat and Knicks have never really had like a huge beef. But the Celtics, you will never in my life get me to say a positive thing about the Celtics from a personal standpoint. And it's funny because I'm also a Red Sox fan, so it's like, but I separate.
Well, at least you and Will agree on something.
Separate the baseball from the basketball. But
if I'm not mistaken, is he not a Boston fan too?
Ooh, this is a touchy subject.
Oh no, he's a Yankee.
No,
oh no, he's from New York.
I don't want to. He's a Cardinals fan, but I'll just say he had a lot of Red Sox gear when we were a kid. That's all I'll say.
And you know what else threw me off? That Boston tie. He's a Patriot fan.
Mm-hmm,
That's what threw me off.
Yeah,
That should be bad in itself. Speaking of, it's time to go. It's time to get to this. It's time to get to my dad's tip-in and get out of here. Really quick, guys. The Knights are 32-17-6 on the year. Good for 70 points. They are set. Oh, almost at 7th. Whoa. Calm down, guys. I know when I said that, it was some. Calm down, guys. But they are second in the Pacific Division. They are 2 points behind Edmonton, who sits ahead of them at 34-16-4. They're back in action on Saturday. It's a busy Saturday. The men's team plays, the women's team plays, and then you have your Golden Knights playing as well at 12:30. That is the scheduled puck drop. February 8th, and that is the last game of this road trip. In addition, it's the last game of the first half. Kevin, let's get to my dad's tip in, talk a little football on the way out the door, and let's go enjoy our, well, I was going to say Thursday night, but Friday morning, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, brother. Since we are almost upon Super Bowl weekend, my tip in is about football. Duh. He said duh, and we did a whole show without it. The topic tonight revolves around, okay, the
needed it,
Gatorade
though, you know?
shower.
Exactly. It's perfect timing.
I tell him all the time, he produces the show whether he knows it or not.
For real. So it's about Gatorade?
Yes. It's always about the infamous Gatorade shower.
Yep.
Now, maybe you're like me and thought that this was just a celebratory ritual conceived for after buzzer beater wins, after the clock reads 0-0, after the winning team is basking in the glory of a championship win. But after reading an article today, this is a highly debatable subject of who, when, and where this action originated. I love these arguments. If you believe ex-New York Giant nose tackle Jim Burt, he created the idea. Dad, you should write a book. In 1984, after the G-Men had lost 3 of 4 games in October and had a key divisional game coming up with Washington, Bill Parcells kept Burt after practice and forced him to jab a wall while holding 20-pound dumbbells for 45 minutes straight. Parcells wanted the other players to see how hard he was punishing Burt, but also he wanted them to work hard to avoid that type of treatment. The next day, Burt issued a warning. He told Parcells that if they beat Washington, he was going to get the coach back. The Giants won 37-13, and Burt fulfilled his promise. At the end of the game, Burt grabbed one of the Gatorade coolers on the sideline, walked over to Parcells, hoisted the cooler, and turned it upside down and doused Parcells with the sports drink, and a tradition was born. It reached another level 2 years later after the Giants won Super Bowl 21. That don't send me Roman numerals ever again. You know how nervous I was? I didn't know if it was 21 or 71. I didn't know what it was.
You can just say the number, and he's only going to not.
Yeah, word. That's a great point. Where are we at? After the Giants won Super Bowl 21, star linebacker Harry Carson donned a security jacket and snuck up behind Parcells for another Gatorade shower. While the Giants were the first to splash their coach after a Super Bowl, Chicago Bear Hall of Famer Hall of Fame defensive lineman Dan Hampton says the Giants copied what he did after he poured a bucket on Mike Ditka after a regular season win in 1984. Old men arguing over sports traditions. Wow.
I was going to
say,
pastime. You know what's funny? I had never thought about that, but I love that kind of shit. It's like
it's the greatest thing in the world.
Like, what is the origin of this awesome niche tradition that we have that is so weird, but we love in sports? Where did this come from? That is like,
you want to know what makes me even even more happy than that? Realizing in the next 30 years I get to be that person.
For real.
I'm about to be that person and be like, nah, look, let me tell you where I was when Luka Doncic got traded.
Yeah.
Let me tell you right now. Let me tell you guys that Dennis Schroeder came out with the 3-point cell. Never mind. Where my dad said.
Tell you about when Chris Douglas Roberts brought short shorts back into the NBA.
Shout out to CDR, man.
I already feel like
God dog, bro.
I already feel like an old head for that, but
why did you do that?
That was a fun one that I got into looking up the other day, and you know what I mean?
Memphis team,
it was him, bro.
Fire.
It was him, the short shorts. It was him.
Now you got me thinking about his college days. That Memphis
team, man.
Bro.
Remember
when never mind. See me, Dad, we didn't got back to basketball. My fault. But I did think Joey Dorsey was going to be the next big thing. And boy, was I wrong. Where are we at?
Football.
But that game was 20. Now we're talking about the Chicago Bears Hall of Fame defensive lineman Dan Hampton.
Yep.
My dad said, but that game was 28 days after Bert doused Parcells. So I guess that means Bert was the originator. The Hall of Fame doesn't recognize one as the first, but it had a replica Gatorade cooler on display with a picture of Carson and have credited Carson with popularizing the practice. The Hall of Fame now has 2 Gatorade coolers. The Brett Kiesel one that was used to dump on Mike Tomlin after the Pittsburgh Steelers won. So he did it again with Roman numerals. You're tripping. When Pittsburgh won Super Bowl, whatever the hell was that? Was that 43? Was that
3 or 2? I think
this says 43. I think. What was 43? That was Arizona.
Yeah,
that was the Arizona Super Bowl. It might be 42. You might be right. While you look that up, I'll go ahead and keep going. And then he said, and then the other one is the one that Russell Wilson and Zach Miller used to douse Seattle Seahawks head coach and now Las Vegas Raider head coach Pete Carroll after winning their Super Bowl as well. He said the coolers were donated by the teams, and this is where I was waiting for my dad to go into it. My dad is a betting man. If you are thinking of betting on one of the prop bets, one of the prop bets is the color of the Gatorade.
Of course.
That will be used. He said purple has moved from plus 350 to plus 225 as the betting favorite.
That's the favorite?
Purple. Yeah, I'll take that bet because I think during the AFC Championship I saw purple, so I'm not betting that one.
Give me the yellow.
Yeah?
Lemon lime, give me the yellow.
Oh, okay, so I got 2 in my head and I thought you was going to pick one? Nah.
I thought I was going to say red or orange.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the other one then. I was between orange and blue.
Yeah.
I was between orange and blue. So I'm going blue.
It's 40 and 43, by the way, Super Bowls.
So Super Bowl 40 for Tomlin.
It was 40 and 43 that they won. So 40.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Because Super Bowl 40 was Cowher's last Super Bowl. Because that was
Seahawks and then, yeah.
Heard. Again, guys, when we do this, and I have to do it tomorrow. Now I have to. I'll make sure I do it tomorrow. And honestly, I expo. So maybe if you want to get an early one done before work, we can do that. Because I'll be probably out relatively soon.
Yeah, I'll let you know for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to try to piece together a team for you guys, get together a nice little special Super Bowl edition of the radio show. But whenever we do meet again and we discuss football, we have to talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the announcement. Eric Allen, former Raider, is going into the Hall of Fame. Just a big deal. And then obviously we'll talk NFL honors as well, right? Josh Allen, first NFL MVP. They said it was the closest race since 2016. So pretty dope. I'm excited to see what the headlines are for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Even with this Super Bowl, people are going to talk about this MVP race and whether or not Josh Allen is deserving of it.
Yeah. And then a couple weeks after that, right into the draft stuff. So.
Oh no, the conversation will be done by the draft. Once the combine starts, everybody's gonna be like, "Yeah, so what happened last year?" Yeah,
yeah,
we're over that.
I'll save it for this discussion, but I think Saquon is being underlooked as maybe what should have been talked about a little more.
I like that take. I need this take tomorrow for sure. So come back tomorrow, guys. Until next time. Crazy. Keep on talking.